All right. And then let me just try this one more time. Let's go home. But yeah, it's been interesting because I was honestly not even sure I was going to talk about this topic here. But I think it is useful to give credit, give props where it's due. Uh, and just being honest, being, straightforward. Shout out to the Twitch chat. Let me pop out over here. Pop the chat out. Ooh. David. Appreciate it. Okay. There's a conversation with Little Bill, FD. I don't know who Open Mike Eagle is, or what is that, Eric the Young God? Or I hope y'all are doing well. Should I check that out? I'm not sure. To be honest, and I was honest with FD when I talked to him. Like, I don't keep up with his content and stuff. Gets pretty repetitive after a while, if I'm being honest. And that's something that I'm struggling to avoid, and that's why I mentioned, like, I wasn't sure about covering this today. I wasn't certain about how much attention to give something like this. However, at the end of the day, this got started because I wanted to combat liberal Zionism, and Matt Duss is a liberal Zionist, and Hasan Piker has consistently and repeatedly normalized liberal Zionists. And I do truly believe, my conspiracy theory here is that the drama that's going on with him, as some people claim, basically putting a green light on Hila Klein, Ethan Klein's wife, who is a IOF veteran. I think it was done on purpose. I think Hasan purposely went out of his way to mention her because he knew it would, stir up his base, stir up Ethan's supporters, stir up Ethan because that's his wife, and help the story, help the drama, the cancellation of Hasan platforming Matt Duss and basically treating him with kid's glove, when this is essentially a lifelong Zionist who has seen the tide turn and is trying to cover his ass. That's who this guy is. And Hasan, I think it's an excuse to be streaming for at least 10 hours a day, to invite somebody on who has been on multiple platforms, the Majority Report, that we know is a liberal Zionist propagandist mouthpiece. I've debated them. They believe that Israel has the right to exist. They simply want the end of apartheid. That is their objective. They want to see the Zionist entity go in the way of South Africa. They want to see the failure of decolonization. So, and he's also been on Democracy Now, which, we've always been, critical of. So that's my question to these people is, like, what were you expecting when he's been doing this time and time again? What were you expecting when he's been doing this time and time again? That's what doesn't make sense to me. Oh, that's funny, man. That's so bad. Let me let me edit this real quick. It's gonna be that. Oh, no, nice. Man. And yeah, that second channel is still giving me trouble. It'll be interesting. But we're up and going here. And I'll pull it up shortly. Give me 1 second. Man, that's super annoying. Awesome. Appreciate y'all tuning in and hearing me ramble a bit. All right, we're ready to go here. Show you what we got. Show me what you got. So again, everything's going to be staying up here. It is, I was going to say moving forward, I'm going to actually have time to focus on the channel again. Things have been a little, when family visits, you got to move things around. However, I do have I don't want to get into details, but some union business I have to take care of, some union business that I've been asked to handle. So after that, my schedule's going to be clearing up, and I'm going to make sure to start editing stuff and posting it here on Deculturation Live. If you haven't subscribed, for those of you, it already has 119 subscribers. I remember how long it took me to get 119 on this channel. So I do really want to say that I appreciate that. I appreciate the support. So let me put that in the chat one more time. Boom. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to that. I'll put it in I don't know if I can put it on the Twitch chat. I don't know how that works. But how we doing? Martyrdom? Sorry. I have my contacts on today. I didn't want to, but bro, like I'm starting to break out again because of, so I messed up the glasses that I like to wear when I'm out and about because they're more secure. They have the little like nose things, and they I don't know, they're just tighter on my face. After a long day, it does get irritating, but like I'm secure that they're not gonna fall. And so I ended up messing them up. So I was using the pair that I normally stream with, but those, they make too much contact with my face, and man, I break out bad. So um anything that agitates my acne, like sometimes I have to take a break from it. So I've been using my contacts. They're not the best because I have astigmatism, so it's I really do need the glasses. It's no joke. I really do need glasses. Uh, so bear with me today because it's gonna be a little bit harder than normal. I'm not trying to like creep up on the screen too much, but let me see if okay, that's good. Yeah, but on chat, Twitch chat, I do think it's Marsha Dream. How we doing? All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Appreciate y'all being here. See how the chat's looking here. But yeah, Deculturation Live is where everything will be saved moving forward. Let me just switch this out. Boom. Over here. There it is. Yes, I do. I do. Thank you. Thank you for that. What is it? Squirrel is my Kool-Aid. Yeah, I do. And like little things like that, I have to learn when you struggle with acne. And I always joke around that, like, man, I was promised that once I became an adult, the acne was gonna stay behind in high school. That was not the case. And I got some gnarly acne scars and all that stuff. And that's why I'm not afraid of getting hit in the face and collecting that CTE, because there ain't much to work with to begin with, so we're all good there. All right, let me adjust let me adjust myself, and then we'll get started here. Oh no, that's what I meant to hit. No, I actually don't like that. All right, that's what we're gonna do. And I keep messing that up. Oh, that's interesting. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Control. Nope. Nope. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. Nice. All right, all right. And then we'll Push that slightly back. Hmm. All right, looks good. It is what it is. Oh, no, David, thank you for hitting me up on Twitter and giving me those links. I need to go over them. So I had to just switch like some settings on my Twitter to make sure that I would get them. All right. I don't know if y'all saw this. We're gonna go over this. It's gonna be a little bit tedious, but I think it'll pay off. I think it'll be worthwhile in terms of how we should be dealing with and combating liberal Zionism, the way that we normalize it amongst our colleagues, amongst our friends, amongst our peers, what have you. Because a big issue that I got really frustrated with this is a lot of the pushback that Hasan Piker is trying to give Matt Duss over here, who was Bernie Sanders, like, what was it, foreign like strategist or some shit like that. What do you call that? What do you call that? I'm blanking out right now. Multitasking, you know how it goes. So that's why, you got to think about this. Of course, Matt Duss is going to be a a huge Zionist. Like, why would you think that he wouldn't? What would make you think that Bernie Sanders would not make sure that his, the person handling his, why is here it is, that's the one I was using. The person handling his like international strategist, was that not what he was called? I'm blanking on what he was called. Why would he not be aligned in his Zionist ideology, his Zionist worldview? Michael Martinez, he gave no pushback. It was embarrassing. Okay, this is why. Look, it is a little. I'm being a little playful with the title of this stream. But what I'm getting frustrated with people like, was it Z Squirrel? What I'm getting frustrated with these people who are upset at Hasan is, this is what he's been doing. This is what he's been doing. So my frustration comes, and my kind of, like, I don't want to say misunderstanding of the situation, but what I'm confused about is, why now? Why was this the thing that truly upset you? Was it because he's connected to Bernie Sanders? Is it because he was so vocal about his Zionist ideology back in the day? Because look, and we'll hear this throughout the conversation, if we're being honest, and I always say, look, I'm a hater, but we do this with honesty. This is hatred you can trust. That's what I'm trying to push. That's what I'm trying to promote on the live stream. And I was listening to this, and I truly felt like Matt Duss was giving away the game. Hasan Piker was not jumping on him, but was like strolling along, like, and just laying things out. I'm so confused with what y'all believe that Hasan believes. Like, do you buy into the idea that he actually wants the end of the Zionist entity, that he actually wants decolonization? Because I haven't heard him say anything that has gone that far. It's always been Palestinian emancipation. It's an ethno-apartheid state. That's all it's ever been. But he has not called for decolonization. So that's what I'm confused about, is who do you think this man is? Who do you think this man is, and why do you think he's that? And it's a lot of, he's really good at using slogans, at using like phrases that people are using online in order to paint himself as somebody that's on the left. But he also has to cover his ass by calling himself a progressive every so often. Oh yeah, I'm a progressive. Again, show me an anarchist, show me a communist, show me a socialist, like an actual socialist, who is comfortable with being labeled a progressive. I don't know them. I'm not outside, like outside. But if I'm not outside, Hasan might as well be a fucking hermit. So maybe you know somebody that I don't, that is an anarchist, that is a communist, that is a socialist, that is comfortable labeling themselves and identifying their political mission as progressive. Because from my understanding, centrist, liberal, progressives all fall in the same category. And then they're doing the whole like dem sock shit too. And I would put in sock dems in that because they're used so interchangeably that at this point it's almost irrelevant. Thank Bernie Sanders. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It wasn't me. Wasn't me. So that's the anthem right there. So that's what I'm confused about is who do y'all think, have you bought into his PR, his image, his messaging, right? Because now his background looks somewhat normal, but when he was first, riding the coattails of his uncle Cenk Uygur, when he was first being a Nepo baby at TYT, I mean, the imagery was like if somebody went to a communist gift shop and just, caught something in there and came out and just vomited the most basic, the most like just random and just nonsensical, over the top communist propaganda. Imagery of communist propaganda. That's what it was. I don't get it, man. I don't know how anybody ever fell for this. And it's people that are relatively like around my age. It's not like he's got like a super young demographic. The people that I've seen that normally like him or believe in him, which is weird, around my age are like older already. All right, but thank you for your patience. You get flagged for that. Jaman, what was he? Woke bait or something? So I got into it, not into it, had a little back and forth exchange with somebody on one of the comments on a previous stream where I mentioned how it grossed me out that like Hasan kind of pushes the sexualization of himself, and that we see it like come out in the DSA event. And that girl was like, that young woman was like, how much do you bench? Oh, because I weigh so much. And then he's like, yeah, very subtle. Yes, I could bench you. And this individual was like, yo, like if you're saying he's being sexually harassed, which I do believe that should be categorized as sexual harassment, why aren't you like defending him? Why aren't you like being sympathetic to him? All this. And I'm just like, bro, like, because this is what he wants. This is what he actively wants. And I don't know if you all saw that. He was on this. Then we'll move on, because why am I on this? I don't want to focus on the drama aspect of it. I'm honestly sick and tired of covering this guy. Because he's an opportunist. What is it? Hasan over it or some shit like that? Is it over it or is it this? I don't know. I've had it. Man, I don't know what. White women, bro. He was on this and look immediately. Well, it's kind of more over here. Watch.
Fuck her out.
Almost immediately. And this is disgusting. Because I would, if a white woman ever spoke to me this way. And again, this is how you know that he's white.
Serious side effects include allergic reactions or...
Yeah, I bet, bro. What the hell are you selling over there? That's kind of weird. And they're still going with the disclaimers? They're still going with the disclaimers? Because I didn't pause it, did I? Nope, it's still going. Man, what are they selling over there? All right. No. Look at this. Just listen to this.
Oh my God, Mr. GQ Pumps, go ahead and get it out of your system.
Oh my God, I loved it. Loved the bubble bath. Here's the deal, Hasan. You're the only person. Like, I hate everybody that posts their workouts on the internet. I hate everybody that posts their outfits of the day. I fucking like yours every single day because you're so cute and so smart and so everything.
I do it for you specifically. So
It's charming. I'm not gonna lie, it's charming. And maybe it's because I don't like cater to white women ever. Then I'm just like, bro, one, they're so fucking gross. And to be clear, I'm not talking about their age. I'm just talking about the way that, especially, well, no, you know what? Yeah, the way that older white women carry themselves, it does gross me out. Oh, I'm like, get me out of here. It does actually gross me out. I'm gonna be honest with you. It does gross me out. Both the entitlement to like space and just them thinking that they could just say like really unprofessional things like that. I don't understand how they justify this shit. It is weird to me. But maybe again, maybe it's just me being hypercritical. Maybe I'm just a hater. Maybe I'm upset that I'm not on a GQ cover like any true revolutionary. Who can forget the GQ cover of Huey P. Newton? Who can forget the GQ cover of Malcolm X? Who can forget the GQ cover of Leonard Peltier? Like, who can forget the GQ cover of all these great leaders, these great leftist figures that challenged the state, that really and truly were willing to dedicate their lives to combating the U.S. settler colonial empire? Like, I still have those covers, you know, like I'm very lucky and fortunate that I was able to, you know, go down to the liquor store and get those GQ magazines of my heroes. A lot of people don't know this. Che Ernesto Vara did a GQ cover as well, but it wasn't really published too much in the U.S. It was mainly in you know, South America, and that's where I was able to get it. You know, through visiting Mexico, I was able to find it. It was difficult, but I and it's signed too. That's the thing. The Che GQ cover is signed, so I'm pretty grateful for that. That's awesome. That's definitely a collector's item. Fucking disgusting, bro. All right. Nah, I mean, honestly, I think all older white women are predatory like that. I'll be honest with you. I think they're all like super predatory like that. I think it's a culture and a mindset that they grew up in, because we see how white men are always feel entitled to the bodies of black and brown women. And I think white women get such a pass with all this stuff that we consider it like harmless, cute. We're very passive towards their actions and their behavior. And like, to me, one of the main things that I want to push people to understand is that we have to treat liberals like the fascists that they truly are, because they bring about fascism, they normalize fascism, they protect fascism. You know, they're the breeding ground for fascism to be normalized. White women, they're the ones that uphold white supremacy, you know, in the background. They're foundational to it. Sure, it's white men that are in the forefront, white men that are the spokespersons, but it's white women who are teaching their children to embrace white supremacy. So, and you might argue, well, these women, you know, they're very liberal. They're sick and tired of the Democrats and how they enabled Donald Trump, and they're not fighting back and all that shit. But again, the way that they're glorified compared to how limited and how close to the center their politics are, it's unbearable to me. Am I tripping out? And maybe it's my I feel like I look whiter, bro. It's kind of creeping me out. It's scaring me a little bit. I feel like I look white. How am I gonna get on the cover of GQ? All right, yeah, it's so glorified. Young base world, desperate housewives, yeah. And my apologies to the chat today. I'm not really going to be able to read too much of it. Again, for those of you who don't know, I'm being forced to wear my contacts. They're not my favorite, especially when it comes to reading like screens and stuff like that. I prefer my glasses, but pimples never cease to haunt me. And I believe that we're starting around here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let's just start here.
Reason why it's a litmus test, because it signals to people that you're not full of crap on a whole range of other issues. You can offer, a really fantastic platform, a whole set of great ideas. But if your answer to a question about Gaza is that Israel has the right to defend itself, you're basically telling people that I'm full of crap and I'll probably fold on all that other great stuff too. So it's a litmus test, I think, for a couple of really good reasons. So what
Oh man, the switch up. I want you to hear that because it sounds like oh okay, yeah, he views it as a good litmus test. All right, this is hilarious.
Hi, my name is Matt Duss, and you can find me on J Street because I think a two-state solution is in the best interests of Israelis, Palestinians, and the United States. And J Street provides a platform for those Americans like myself who want to encourage our government to play the leadership role that I think it has to make this outcome a reality.
Yeah. And you could say, well, that was 14 years ago. One search and I found that. But this is who he truly is at his core. You can't point to a place where he has truly politically changed. And we're going to see this because he'll call it a genocide. He'll say that we should have an arms embargo. But at the end of the day, he's still a Zionist. Because his concern, again, is not about Palestinian lives. It's about the survival of the Zionist entity. It's about the survival of the Zionist entity. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. He does not want, to bring an end to this genocide for Palestinians. He wants to bring an end to this genocide for the long-term legitimacy of the Zionist entity. Because these liberal Zionists view Benjamin Netanyahu, view these fundamental extremist Zionists as actually putting at risk the Zionist entity. It's like, you're going to push us over the ledge. And what we want is to be accepted, to be normalized. So when we commit atrocities, when we steal land, we want to do it quietly. Again, it's the reason why Bernie Sanders misses who I think was his former lover. This is just speculation on my part, just my personal opinion, gold in my ear. Yeah, exactly. He talks out of both sides out of his mouth, for sure.
I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question there?
The second part of my question was the distinction being made in some circles, at least, between offensive and defensive weapons. Do you feel like this is a distinction without a difference?
I mean, I understand just.
So again, now they're talking about, essentially AOC. They're talking about AOC. I don't know why Hasan doesn't just come out and just say, look, what do we think about AOC? Yada, yada. Is she a fraud? They're going to bring her up in name in a little bit, but it's so frustrating that if you're asking the questions, if you're conducting this interview, why aren't you being honest and direct from the jump? Let's just be honest. Hey, we've seen how AOC tries to use the language, tries to manipulate, the narrative into saying, nope, I only support defensive weapons. And you've heard me say here time and time again, okay, defending what? What are you defending? What are you defending? You're defending the Zionist entity from what? From the indigenous Palestinian population trying to resist and use force against force. Meet violence with violence, which they have every right to do. And so you are a Zionist enabler. AOC is a Zionist enabler. And that's the most generous way that you can put it.
You don't want to be, it's important to allow countries to defend themselves, to defend their civilians. We talk about that a lot with regard to Israel. It's a fair question. I think it's a very important question. Why do we never ask that of the Palestinians? Israel has a right to defend itself. Do the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves?
I say yes.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think they absolutely do.
Oh, how cool does that sound? Look at the pushback. Hasan's like, yeah, I say yes. So brave, cool. And Matt Duss is saying, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do. But you see the equating, that's the issue. The moment that you start equating the colonized and the colonizer, the oppressed and the oppressor, you've legitimized the colonizer. You've legitimized the colonizer, and that's the fucking problem. This is why liberal Zionism is so insidious, because they can agree with you. They can agree with you, and on the surface, with a very shallow understanding, very shallow analysis, which is all Hasan Piker has ever provided, it sounds acceptable. And he doesn't question it. Hasan doesn't question it, either for one or two reasons. Because he's incapable of actually thinking 2 steps to thinking more profoundly, or he is a Zionist enabler himself, which there's a long track record of him being exactly that. In the second part of the stream, and we're going to bring up about Hila, Klein, and all this, I'm starting to respect Hasan Piker's intelligence. I'm starting to respect his, media savvy, because in order to distract from this and being held accountable for this, again, this pattern of platforming, glorifying, normalizing liberal Zionists, he immediately tries to change the narrative, change the conversation back to his drama, because it's drama, with Ethan Klein, Hila Klein, the IOF veteran, his former business partners, by alluding to violence towards her. And we'll get to that, because it is a little bit nuanced, it's a little bit more complicated, but that's why I'm starting to respect Hasan. I'm starting to respect him. Honestly, man, like I feel like apologizing to him, because I'm like, oh, okay, I thought you were just an opportunist, but you're an insidious opportunist. You're an insidious opportunist. You're real slick with it. And like we say, like, we can hate the player, we can hate the game, but we have to recognize the stats. We have to recognize the numbers that he's putting, he's putting on the board. We'll get to that though. My apologies. So we're jumping the gun a little bit there. So Matt Duss, the equating of the colonizer and the colonized, basically saying they both have the right to defend themselves. No, they don't. The colonizer does not have the right to defend themselves, because there's no such thing as self-defense. Everything they do is an act of violence. Their presence alone is an act of violence against the indigenous population, because they're there to replace and displace and to massacre them. Their presence alone, right? When people say, what about colonizer children? In order to protect that colonized, that child of a colonizer, in order to provide them with a future, you need to rob the future of a colonized child, of an indigenous child, of a native child. You need to rob them from resources. You need to rob them from food. You need to rob them from their ability to live in peace. So frustrating.
I mean, they not only have a right to defend themselves, they have a right to resist occupation, as any people do.
No, it's both legal and moral, for sure.
That's right.
That's right. It's both legal and moral, for sure. And he says himself, as any Occupy people do. What borders are you talking about? Because over here, we're talking 1948. But I guarantee you, Matt Duss is talking about 1967, right?
They should do so within the bounds of international law, with the treatment of civilians and non-combatants, just as Israel should. But anyone should be able to answer unequivocally yes, that the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves. Now, going to this question of,
but again, the slickness. Whoa, Palestinians have to do it the right way. Palestinians have to do it the right way, and the Zionists also have to defend themselves the right way. Well, we all got to play by international laws and rules that the colonizers came up with. And those international laws and rules were put in place to limit the ability of colonized people to truly gain their freedom, to truly decolonize. Those international rules, the international, order is put there to make sure that indigenous people can't kick out their colonizers. How long has it taken And now we're seeing it throughout Africa. For the French to fucking kick rocks. And they're still punishing those nations that are finally said enough is enough. We're done being treated like one of your colonies, one of your satellites. But again, what is it? The international rule-based order, whatever the fuck they call that shit. You can tell when I haven't streamed in a minute. You can tell when I haven't streamed in a minute. I'm not gonna lie. But all that is put in place in order to normalize the status quo, in order to maintain stability, primarily for markets, for power, for control. So you got to keep that in mind. That when these people like Matt Duss talk about, well, we have to follow, the rule of law, both parties do. When one party has a nuclear weapon, one party has the backing of the Western powers, one party is allowed to commit a genocide, and the other is accused of committing these false crimes, these endless accusations, whether it's 40 beheaded babies or mass rapes. But they want to equate the two. And Hasan just lets that shit slide.
Defensive versus offensive. I understand that Congresswoman, AOC got some grief for her vote and then for her explanation. And I understand people's concerns about that. My kind of question here is like, was it worth spending that much bandwidth on this amendment that was not going to pass at all? I don't think so. She ended up voting against the entire bill anyway. That was the right vote. And I think where people should focus.
Well, see, I agree with you. And I think the concern that I have isn't like, oh, AOCIA or whatever the people say all the time in online circles. The concern I have is...
Hold on, before we hear his concern. This is what Matt Duss, what his role is meant to be. He's meant to be the guy playing defense. He's meant the guy to be playing diminish the criticism. Diminish. Don't refute it. Don't outright refute it, because then people are going to see what you're about. And credit to, I struggle with this because Hasan Piker is so basic in his analysis. It's so shallow that it appeals to the common denominator, right? There's a reason why, what was he watching? Like fucking Master Chef, or what do these Twitch guys do? Like they're able just to watch shows, and that's what really helped them stay afloat before piggybacking behind that predator and now exposed pedo Destiny, who should be on a sex offender registry. And big shout out to Bisco and all those people who were trying to normalize Destiny's return. Disgusting fucking people. Disgusting enablers. That being said, what was I saying, right? It makes me wonder about Hasan's like chat, or the people that have watched his stuff. Because if you're able to pick up on the fact that Matt Duss is out here to be a liberal Zionist propagandist, and you're able to recognize that Hasan Piker is not just platforming him, that's another discussion. If you platform whoever you want, but be ready to combat their propaganda, be ready to be able to analyze and call out their double speak. When they're trying to be slick, stomp that shit out. Being passive like this, even though you are voicing your disagreement, even though you are, I wouldn't even say pushing back. I would say just reiterating or restating your position or doubling down on your position. I don't think that's necessarily pushing back. I think it's calling to attention, perhaps, because pushing back requires some force. To push something, to push someone back requires a little bit of strength. But maybe I'm being too critical. All right. But yeah, in regards to AOC, immediately Matt Duss goes out of his way to downplay it, be like, oh, well, this wasn't going to pass. At the end of the day, she still voted no against the entire thing. And then Hasan Piker going, yeah, I don't think it's anything like AOCIA. And it's like, but this isn't the first time that she's done some weirdo shit in regards to the Zionist entity. This is not the first time. Y'all remember, we can't stand these fucking liberals out here. What was it? The Iron Dome. AOC. We've been over this.
Yesterday in this vote for the Iron Dome funding. And we should say there's some question in that Iron Dome.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
It was just cut and paste and it was Iron Dome. But we saw AOC basically switch her vote at the last minute. I would imagine
this is already 3 years ago. This is already 3 years ago. So again, a pattern of enabling, of aligning with, of normalizing the Zionist entity.
Imagine it had something to do with like
redistricting New York State specifically, because Bowman voted yes, and he's probably going to get redistricted for, I think, Westchester County will probably encroach into his district at some point. I'm not exactly sure, but it's notable to me that someone like Ayanna Pressley voted no. And I'm not trying to say she's like right-wing Democrat by any means, but of that group, I would say she's the least progressive, if I was to put it on the spectrum, than Bowman and AOC. So I think that there's something specific to New York that we need to be
well, the point being is that they found some leverage.
You see, and just like Emma Vigeland was washing the blood of Palestinians off of Kamala Harris' hands during her campaign, immediately trying to downplay. When you switch your vote to no to present, sure, you're not making a giant impact, especially because that vote is going to pass. And that's how these liberals try to hide. Like, look, the vote was either going to pass or it wasn't, regardless of what AOC did. The point is that AOC is signaling to those in higher position of power. She's signaling to those donors and to her Zionist voters that, hey, regardless of what I say, regardless of who I stand beside, and it's always to her convenience and to her benefit, I'm not actually going to oppose the Zionist project. I'm not actually going to put it at risk. That's what she's demonstrating. Even by going present and saying, hey, when it matters most, right now, I'll go from no to present, but when it matters most, I'm gonna be on your side. You can count on me. I got to, pretend to be this fucking radical person. I got to pretend to be on the left. I got to pretend to oppose the Zionist entity. Let me know if that gets annoying. I've been fidgeting a lot, and I don't know why. Slightly not really concerned.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because this is not, there was some leverage there. And
at the same time, AOC is voting to block bomb sales to Israel. So there's something about the Iron Dome vote specifically. And I'm not excusing it, but I think that and then the reports of her crying as she's this vote. There's some.
The FJK, you need to have a conversation with Hasan because he makes your exact points every single day. Your critiques are the exact same I've heard him call out others on. Yeah, because he's a fucking hypocrite, bro. That's what's so frustrating. He is a character. The same way that for years, everybody on the so-called online left embraced and loved Cenk Uygur, worked with him, were business partners with him, while he was an Armenian genocide denier, while he named TYT, the Young Turks, after the group that started the Armenian genocide, and everybody just ignored it while that was happening. And it took how long for y'all to realize that he was just playing a fucking character? Same thing with Emma Vigeland. Same thing from the Mike Figueroa from the Humanist Report. What happened when TYT tried to unionize? What happened when TYT unionized? Cenk Uygur opposed it, and we saw Emma Vigeland. We saw Mike from the Humanist Report. We saw all these so-called leftists come out, and what do? They sided with the big boss, Cenk Uygur. So when it finally got to their homes, when it came knocking to show some fucking solidarity with the working class, these people chose to be careerists, chose to align with the big boss, Cenk Uygur, than to show any solidarity with true working class people. Because that's who they fucking really are when it matters. But when it's on screen, when it's far away, oh, they'll yap and they'll pretend to be on our side. They'll pretend to be on our side, but we know who they are based on their actions when it fucking matters. Now, Hasan Piker could be saying all the shit I'm saying, but he's not saying it right now when he's talking to Matt Duss. He's online for at least 10 hours a day. He is one of the most online people in the world, especially when we talk about, political commentators. And I've known that Matt Duss is a fucking weirdo. He's had conversations with Breonna Joy Gray. Just the fact that he was on Bernie's team should at this point be recognized as a red flag because he's a lifelong Zionist. It took me one fucking YouTube search to find Matt Duss on J Street. Oh, that was so long ago. Oh, that was so long ago. Still very clearly a Zionist. Why didn't he call out? Why didn't Hasan Piker call him out and say, hey, why are you equating the indigenous people, the colonized people, their right to defend themselves, to the colonizers' right to defend themselves? It's no different than talking about AOC, trying to rebrand it as solely defensive weapons. What defense? What are you defending? Your right to colonize Palestinian land? That's what's frustrating. There's no reason for Hasan to talk to me. There really isn't. I mean, he's got how many fucking subscribers? He's got how many millions of dollars in the bank and views? There's no reason for him to talk to me. And the issue is that I recognize him as an opportunist. We saw the conversation that occurred with him and Bad Empanada. Bad Empanada is a fucking coward. And he tried to come out and ride this wave of being critical of Hasan Piker. Homie, you had your chance to talk to him and call him out like you should have, and instead you fucking rolled over and played nice. You got housebroken by fucking Noah Samson. Suddenly you didn't have any fucking, it was all bark and no bite. You had nothing on your it was nothing but gums. You had no fucking teeth. It was nothing but gums. Suddenly you know how to fucking behave. And that's what I'm saying. Don't trust these fucking weirdos. You're going from Australia to fucking Argentina? Get the fuck out of here. There's something not right with you. If Australia is not white enough for Bad Empanada that he had to go to fucking Argentina and he gets upset and riled up whenever you call him out for being probably the most fucking racist country, at least on this fucking side. And he gets upset. He gets riled up. Like if he's fucking Argentinian, he's not. What the fuck? It's weird. These are fucking weirdos. But he wants to act tough after the fact. And Hasan doesn't cover criticism of him from the left. He didn't cover when Bad Empanada called him out for normalizing liberal Zionists. He didn't cover Bad Empanada calling out how he basically played footsies over here with Matt Duss. Because he doesn't want to expose his audience to that. Sure, enough of them already see it, but he doesn't want to expose his entire audience to it, and he doesn't want to, deal with the fact that he has no rebuttal to these facts. He's an opportunist through and through, and I'm trying my best not to be petty. I'm trying my best to be, critical of his positions. I said it. I don't understand what the outrage is about. He's been doing this for years at this point, normalizing and cozying up to liberal Zionists. Whether it's Sam Cedar, whether it's Bernie Sanders, whether it's fucking Ethan Klein when they started Leftovers. You're going to tell me that he didn't know that Ethan lived in Israel? You're going to tell me that he didn't know that Hila Klein served in the IDF? Get the fuck out of here. He knew that these were fucking Zionists. He knew that she was a proud IOF veteran. He knew that Ethan Klein had a fucking Zionist passport. He knew all this shit and he didn't give a fuck because what he saw was cash and clout. And he's addicted to that shit. Can you imagine yourself as a leftist living out here in fucking LA, seeing people struggling out in the streets and saying, nah, I really need this Porsche. Nah, I really need a multi-million-dollar home. because I'm a socialist progressive who embraces populist economics. Get the fuck out of here. I'm trying not to be petty. But when you come over here on my channel saying, you guys need to have a conversation, you guys are saying the same thing. How do you want me to react to that nonsense? And again, my apologies to the chat. These contacts are pretty annoying, especially when I'm indoors on a screen and there's a lot of lighting going on, so it's throwing them off. Look, if you're new here, I truly do 100% appreciate any pushback. Challenge me. Challenge me. I need that. In fact, I fucking crave it. Me gusta la mala vida. I enjoy the hard life. I truly do. I was gonna say something crazy. I was like, yeah. If I told you, for whatever reason, I have not controlled this, I do not pick this, I do not seek it out. And it's kind of it's not a cliche, it's a stereotype in the Latin community. The type of women that I end up being attracted to and dating. So ya saben. I'm not gonna say anything else, but it makes me laugh. Like I just, what do you want me to say? So I do want that pushback. I want to be honest with you. I do want that pushback. I don't want to scare you off. We can have disagreements. I can get riled up. It happens. But I do want y'all here. So go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like if you will. And super chats are turned on. I interact with the chat anyways. We're not trying to fucking gatekeep or price anyone out. But any support helps. Appreciate y'all.
And I think you'll agree with me on this, that there is a void in discourse right now with the way that the Democratic base feels. Is a 92-8 issue at this stage, right? And that void is being experienced in every facets of American politics. Like independents are overwhelmingly seeing Israel in a disfavorable way. Even Republicans by majority, regardless of their loyalty to Donald Trump, have had issues with Israel in ways that we've never seen in American politics before. So when the overwhelming public sentiment is, as I like to jokingly say, Israel o'clock, and the Democrats are completely unable to ride that wave, even on a partisan, even with a cynical, cold, calculated partisan analysis, I fear that void will be taken over by grifters and maybe even anti-Semitic people. And the Democrats are actually dropping the ball both politically and also on the policy front on this issue once again. I think AOC should be the person that is pushing for amendments like that. Do you disagree?
Hold on, before he answers, it's so fucking pathetic. I think that the person that for years, that we saw 3 years ago already, at least, I mean, I'm sure we go back further because there's been, I've seen some rumors, I've seen some accusations of the people that initially started to fund AOC's campaign and who she was aligning with. I know that the whole, portrayal of her just being a bartender that decided to get involved in politics is a lie, because she interned for one of the Kennedys. I forget which one, but she interned for one of the Kennedys. So already the image of AOC as just being a bartender, just like me and you, working class, just trying to make it through paycheck, not involved with politics, when they should just said, I've had enough. I need my voice heard. That is a fucking lie. So I've heard accusations with her, why she always aligns with Zionists at the end of the day, kind of is connected to her start, her political start. Now I haven't verified that shit. That's why I'm not pulling it up. That's why I'm talking about it like it's speculation, because that's how I'm seeing it now. But at the end of the day, it sort of kind of doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter why she's aligning with Zionists. What matters is that she is aligning with Zionists. But it's, okay, one thing I do want to say, it is concerning that because these liberals are unwilling to come out and with their chest and with their actions oppose the Zionist entity, and you see these anti-Semites saying, see, we told you, Nick Fuentes is out here like celebrating or trying to argue with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, saying, no, I've been anti-Semitic this entire time. I've been critical of for them, it's just Israel. And so there is that fear that that's going to happen. We see it with Nick Cruz from Revolutionary Blackout Network aligning with Jackson Hinkle, aligning with Jake Shields in that interview. So there is that fear, there is that concern. However, should that be a primary focus when, we're talking about a genocide? Because at the end of the day, these fucking anti-Zionist WASP, these anti-Zionist whites, they're blaming the Zionist entities for all the actions that the U.S. would take regardless of the existence of the Zionist entity or not. They're trying to provide cover for their preferred, settler colonial project. So my concern with Nick Cruz was always that, hey, you're tokenizing yourself. Hey, you're providing a, blackface, a cover for these white nationalists, for these white supremacists. And not only are you doing that, but you're also claiming to be a Marxist. When your Marxist analysis is like they're marrying each other. Game of Thrones ass fucking shit, bro.
I don't know if that amendment is the one to fight on. I think there are a lot of great things that she's pushed, and she will. We're moving into the NDAA, this big defense authorization bill. I'm really interested to see what she's going to be offering there. I don't know if that one bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene offered was the kind of hill to fight on. I understand what people have concerned about it. I think there are smarter places to fight, but I would also say, people should understand, and I think most people do, that she's been one of the great champs on this. And I think it's fair to have disagreements and to question some of the choices she makes, but I also think it's important to keep that in mind. I mean, she has done enormous work.
Oh, for sure. She called it a genocide way before many people did in Congress.
Right.
And that should be recognized, and I definitely do recognize that, which is why I always think like it's inconsistent, even in the simplest terms. If you're like saying that this country is committing a genocide, but then you're also saying like, but we have to keep giving it weapons to allow itself to continue behaving in this belligerent way. Because that's my main point on this, is that like everyone, including Israeli society and Israeli officials, knows that without America's unlimited support in Israel's offensive capabilities and its defensive capabilities since October 7, 70% of all munitions that Israel has used has come from the United States of America, both on the defensive side and on the offensive side. We've moved our Navy around Israel's enemies and around Israel's allies as well, in an effort to defend Israel whenever there's retaliation from countries or militancy groups that have the capacity to resist against Israel or to fight back. And in that process, like, I think we're giving Israel bandwidth to continue behaving in this belligerent way, and defensive weapons, I think, play a formative role in this.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, and also, I get that, money is fungible, and money they are getting.
So, real quick to respond to the chat, I hear what you were saying, Gospy. But I understand why people misunderstood you. Look, I had to come to terms with the fact that like I turn on super chats and I'm trying to monetize some of this. Because as was stated, who was it over here saying that like, shoot, talking about the 4-hour streams, I am starting to invest more time into this. I am slightly uncomfortable about it. But at the same time, like, and I've said this time and time again, and it's so fucking frustrating because it sounds arrogant of me to say, who else is breaking it down like this? Who else is breaking it down like this? Honestly, please let me know, because that way I can start watching their streams. That way I'm like, all right, cool. I'll send people that way. but I'm not seeing it. And because I'm a fucking loudmouth and I gotta speak up when nobody else is doing it the way that I think it should be done. That's why I'm saying it. So yeah, I when I first started streaming, I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna make any money out of this and that, because I wasn't gonna fucking, I was gonna hop on and hop off and not give it much thought. And then, you know, slowly I'm like, all right, fuck. Y'all really want to ride with me? Y'all really want to like do this? You want to grow this? All right, then. I'm down to start, you know, putting more time into this. But I'm fucking, I didn't have no rich uncle. Wait, entiendan. I need y'all to understand. Ni tenemos pinches terrenos. That fucking cliche shit you hear about Mexicans fighting, you know, in their family gatherings over the, you know, territories back in Mexico. We didn't even have that. That's the type of family, that environment that I grew up around. And I'm grateful and I love them for it. Appreciate the support. I really do. ZZ Lion. Thank you so much. But that's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Ni terrenos teníamos. We didn't even have that. That fight was not happening out here. It's funny when, you know, talking to, man, I try not to get into the personal life, but I have a very dysfunctional and kind of weird, like family setups. There's entire sections of families I didn't grow up around that you know, all these things. And so people that are technically my family tree that are super close to me to this day are still asking me very basic questions about my upbringing, about my other, you know, branches in my family tree. And what I'll tell you, I'll share this. Basically, when like you grow up and your family ends up in a border town, you start losing a lot of like that culture of like your original place. And so in a lot of weird ways, like because of poverty and because of push towards the north and being like economic refugees, because of that, we lost a lot of that culture that I had to kind of start rediscovering broadly. I know exactly where my family's from. Never been there. I hear it's beautiful. I have no incentive to go there because the far distant family that I do have still there, I don't know if I want to meet them, if I'm being honest. My point being, I don't know what my point is, to be honest with you. It's just that I was having a conversation about what it, you know, about essentially my Mexicanness. And while it was something that I used to be very sensitive about, that I was very, you know, uncomfortable about, like, oh, am I whitewashed, soy pocho, my Spanglish, all these things, my accent, right? Slowly but surely, the same way that I stopped identifying as a Chicano, I stopped aligning with Chicanismo. I kind of got over that. You know what I mean? So I'm not seeing, and FD was right about this, I don't see brown faces in these places. And I try my best to try and talk about, you know, Latin, Latino America, Hispanic, whatever the fuck you want to call us, about brown shit. But I don't solely want to focus on that because I'm more than that. Right? But I appreciate the support. I appreciate y'all being here. And it does make me uncomfortable because first generation, hey, it's about working hard. That's where we get told you don't ask for handouts. It's a weird fucking relationship with money that we got. And then I come from, again, a family background where it's like, why save money when you're going to be struggling later anyways. Right? Anywho, I appreciate it. Let me get back on task. Y'all distracted me. I can barely see the chat and y'all killing me already. But I appreciate you, ZZ. Man, I'm struggling here. Okay, my contacts are clearing up. RIP, respect, intellectual perspective. I like that. That's only way to make liberals reset in peace with the bad takes by giving them a verbal two-piece with a hot sauce. I appreciate the work. I usually catch you live. I appreciate that, ZZ. Oh man.
Getting for, you know, quote unquote defensive weapons is money that they don't have to, you know, that they can then spend on offensive weapons. So, you know, I get those arguments. I
Yeah.
guess, you know, I guess what I would say is that it's, you know, it's fine to disagree with the vote and disagree with her explanation, but I also think in terms of, you know, where we're focusing our energy and where activists are focusing their energy, it's rather than going after her, it's like I want more people to be voting against the offensive weapons, you know?
Yeah. No, and the other thing that I also am finding myself
ZZ, thank you again. I appreciate it for the super chat. Don't apologize for your radical takes on liberals. We are forced to use the tools of our enemies, or tools, I believe you're trying to say. We are forced to use the tools of our enemies. That is the contradiction. Not recognizing the contradiction is a problem. True. And I did want to respond to there was something over here. There was one more thing that caught my eye. Oh yeah, Sunland TV. My only pushback would be, is his audience really the people you really want to pull left? Is his audience people you want to organize with? I feel like you wouldn't like these people in real life. I don't like most people in real life. That's my fucking problem. I don't like most people. And I try my best because of that, because I recognize that in myself, my antisocial tendencies to be as charitable as I can be and understanding. So look, I'm assuming that his audience is predominantly white. I already don't want them around here. And there's a reason why, you know, he's got so much money and he's made so much money is because he has an affluent, liberal based audience. So I understand that. I get that. And it's not, my goal here is not to, I don't think that I'm going to radicalize anyone. I really don't. I think that if you enjoy what I'm doing, if you like listening to this, you're already firmly on the left and you've already, you know, been doing the work, whether the reading or the organizing. And that's the type of, you know, community that I want to build. Last time that, you know, Lana was in the chat and everybody was sharing, you know, what books, you know, just recommending books and stuff like that. I don't follow Hasan's chat like that. But what I seen from Twitter, like it's never anything like that. It's defending some wild shit that he did. It's defending his affluent lifestyle. It's defending how he's all talk and never does the walk. You know what I mean? So I'm not here necessarily to like steal Hasan's audience. If I was, I would have played nice from the jump. I would have been the brown face, the brown orbiter of his. Funny enough, I talked to this with FD about it. Like if I really wanted to chase that bag like that, to get that clout, then I would have just played nice from the jump and would have been like, hey, amigos, I would have done that whole thing. That's not who I am. That's not who I am. I'm known for being a fucking asshole because I will tell you that I don't fucking like you to your face. Now we could be professional. We could get work done. No doubt about that. I promise you, we could make sure that we are both, you know, achieving our objectives. But I'm not going to chum it up with you. I've never been that person because I don't want you to lie to me. I don't want you to be disingenuous with me. I want to be able to know where you're at and where we stand. And I'm going to give you the courtesy. I'm going to give you the fucking respect to do the same. And I don't got a good poker face. I don't got a good poker face. I don't. You're gonna see in my fucking face when I don't like you. So why am I gonna, you know, my face is saying one thing, my mouth's gonna say another? Nah, let's keep them lined up. All
right. Consistently trying to get politicians on the Democratic side to like advocate for is that if they lead on this issue and even are unafraid to take bold and, dare I say, radical, I guess, stances on issues like this, they will immediately move the Overton window in a more positive direction. What I mean by this is, if congressional leaders that are the most progressive right now were running around talking about no more weapons to Israel at all, and maybe even a sanctions package to Israel, if that was the advocacy that you heard from
FD, I appreciate you, bro. I really do. Appreciate you. I just saw that. I don't know if you heard earlier, but I'm wearing contacts today, and it's not the best with all the lighting and the screen, so I'm struggling with the chat. The chat knows that I'm usually, you know, the same way that I give Jared from Millennials for Killing Capitalism a run, you know, for his money in terms of how long we keep these streams going. I give Dr. Ball a run for his interaction with the chat. So I really appreciate that. FD says, I wouldn't have come around if I didn't think you had something valuable to add, even if it's a little spicier than normal. Hey, you know, that part, I'm a good Mexican. We fucking, if you haven't had a torta ahogada, FD, let me know, and we'll go out and grab a bite. It's funny that you say the spicy stuff. Growing up, you know, literally, mi abuela, God, y'all gonna make me cry on stream. It's unfortunate that more recently, you know, and maybe it's a deeper conversation, but when it comes to, you know, machismo and sexism in the Latin community, especially as a man, like at some point you got to put your foot down and say, like, I'm not playing along anymore with these family dynamics. I'm cool with being ostracized and not being around. But you got to do that, and it's always difficult when it's people that you truly love and care for that are willing to normalize atrocious behavior. So that being said, vaguely being said, right? Growing up, literally, when I would spend the weekends with my grandma, and she would cook, amazing cook, just amazing cook. I've never had food that good. I you know, I am that kind of that kid where like, oh no, my grandma's cooking, it's top tier, it's crazy. And literally every breakfast, you're either gonna eat it with tapatio, Valentina, or jalapeno. And I'm a little kid where I'm like, wait, what do you mean? I have to eat this with salsa, something, right? Because she would also make that from scratch, and it wasn't an option. You have to eat. As a Mexican, I had to eat my breakfast, my meals, my food with some type of spice. I think that's where it comes from. I think that's where it comes from. Oh man, let's get to it. But I appreciate the support, FD. I really do. You didn't have to, and you did, and for that, I'll be grateful, and always hypercritical. Oh, FD, I will say this though, and I will publicly ask for this. But I'll take that back. I'll privately ask for this. I'll hit you up. I'll hit you up. I got somebody I want you to connect with me too, I guess. Yeah. I think there's an interesting conversation about identity and what it means to grow up close to your culture. And I think that's pretty obvious for anybody that knows. So, but I want to have that conversation with somebody you can connect me with. Appreciate it. All right.
The Bernie Sanders and the AOCs of the world, and like you know, bold and progressive policymakers, then I think more moderate parts of the Democratic Party would inevitably try to find a centrist position and retriangulate their perspective, instead of just like continuing to say like, oh, well, you know, we don't know if we can stop giving weapons to Israel. That's just the way I see it. I think that that's part of the reason why the Republicans have dominated discourse on every issue, both domestic and foreign policy, in perpetuity, because they're unafraid to be radical.
I mean, don't get me. I'm with you on that. I mean, we need kind of bolder, more courageous leadership on a whole range of issues. So I agree there. But I'll say, just, you know, on this one issue, I mean, even that Politico article, the fact that, you know, Pete was even asked about.
Sorry, I'm behind on the chat. For those of you that don't know, we do have royalty among us. We have the King of Blacks, FD Signifier, self-proclaimed. Man, I feel that. And that's the reason why, and I'll get back to this video, but the reason why, after having success with, you know, Latinos in the N-word, the Mexican OT, and Lefty video, The reason why I kind of forced myself to do that kind of media analysis and pushback on Superman, and look at the numbers and the difference. 43K views compared to 8.5K. The reason I forced myself to do that instead of following the game plan that I originally had with talking about a lot of like Latin issues was because I didn't want to fall into that trap. I'm one, I'm not a good Mexican. Two, I'm more than just that. And three, I think our perspective, needs to be shared on varying topics. I think this Mark Maron, Joe Rogan thing had me dying because I was like, you'll see it in the intro. Immediately, the first thing that plays, you're gonna see that I am doing something different, and it made me laugh because I'm like, are you guys not hearing? Are you guys not seeing what I'm seeing? And that's what makes me put content out. All right. But I appreciate it. Let's get going. All right, let's get going.
About banning arms sales is because of Bernie's resolutions. These joint resolutions of disapproval that Bernie introduced and it was voted on a few weeks ago. It got the most votes from any from Democrats ever. I think it was 27 for one, 24 for another. Both of them more than half of the Democratic caucus in the Senate. Still too few, in my view. I mean, this should have, when you look at the reality of the genocide and what's being done with our weapons, I mean, we should have stopped these arms sales a long, long time ago. But still, recognizing the weird way that this issue works, I think it is important to chalk that up as an important achievement. But also, one of the achievements was getting, potential candidates for 2028 to have to answer, what would you have done? Senator Alyssa Slotkin, who managed not to be there for the vote, she had to answer the question, would you have voted for it? Gallego, also not there, had to answer the question. This is going to keep coming up. It's going to be a question that's going to be asked to every candidate who wants to run in the 2028 primary, and that's important.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we kind of got sidetracked, and I understand if we kind of lost our place in the conversation here. But one thing that this really brings to mind, and I agree with actually what Matt Duss is saying here, whether it's genuine or not is another conversation. But I agree what he's saying, like, hey, we want these people on record at the very least, these politicians. I felt that the same thing could have been said for pushing for Medicare for all during a fucking pandemic, during a global fucking pandemic, when people were dying left and right. And then Joe Biden came in and said, oh, we're done with that shit. And liberals, want to uphold the Democratic Party and say, yeah, we just got to work on a few things and this and that. It's so frustrating. But my point is that during a fucking global pandemic, the same way that, during a fucking genocide, we need to have these people at the very least on record. During a global fucking pandemic, we should have had these fucking Democrats on record, whether or not they were going to support socializing medicine or not. And if they weren't, then they have blood on their hands and we know it and they cannot fucking deny it. But we saw all these liberal DNC fucking aligned hacks. We saw all of them use that fucking moron Jimmy Dore as an excuse of why they couldn't hold politicians accountable during a fucking global pandemic. And we've forgotten about it. When was the last time that fucking socialized medicine, Medicare for all, has truly been brought up and argued for? It's so frustrating. And if you haven't struggled with that, if you haven't, had to question whether or not you can afford to go to the fucking hospital, to the doctors, or you've spent a whole fucking day at urgent care because it's cheaper, because you can actually get seen, it'll take a couple fucking hours. And by a couple hours, I mean, you're there all fucking day. If you haven't gone through that, consider yourself fortunate. Consider yourself fortunate. Because there's a part of you too that while you're sitting there, you feel guilty because you see people who are economically in a worse situation than you are and who are in more, need of medical attention than you. But especially if you're brown, man, for you to actually finally go to the doctors or go to urgent care is because you need to be there. And we need to, the way that capitalism works to where, not just culturally speaking, right? Where we're like, oh, it's all right, I'll be fine. The culture already tells you don't be a chillon, don't be a fucking crybaby, man up. But when capitalism is telling you and you can't fucking afford it, so you better man up. That shit's a fucking 1-2. Straight down the middle. I'm really tired. you motherfuckers are gonna start doing this. I love it. Insert message here. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support, y'all. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for supporting the channel. And y'all are too funny.
Yeah. This was not only a litmus. This is not only a litmus test for upcoming elections, but I think this was a litmus test in many ways for the previous election as well. And I wanted to hear your perspective on this because a lot of people, I think, falsely claimed that the left was a single issue on this, right? And that the left was responsible for the defeat of Kamala Harris, which, of course, if you actually look at the numbers, like Jill Stein and all the other, third-party spoilers that are supposed to be on the left flank. Did not actually make up for the margin of defeat anyway, so it's objectively false to make this claim. But I think that a lot of people, including those who I talked to, including the Paw Johns that I talked to before the election and the lead up, when I was like ringing the alarm bells about this issue, actively avoided it, and I think it was actually deliberately cut out of their autopsy on why the campaign failed as well, like this issue in particular, because people's attitudes about what's going on in Gaza and about what Israel is doing did not dramatically swing overnight. There were numerous polls that showed that denying weapons to Israel and forcibly implementing a ceasefire would have been a very important issue that Kamala Harris could deviate away from the Biden regime on, and yet she failed to do so.
All right. Okay, I'm not going to share that thought just because it's kind of petty and annoying. But what I will say is, and I had to start asking these, like the question out loud is, who is he talking to and how constantly is he talking to these people? I believe Hasan Piker, and if I'm not mistaken, is it Asmongold are in the same, have the same publicist or have the same like PR team. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So at a certain point, like it would be, I think it's necessary when you have paid advertisement, you have to let that be known, right? You're like, hey, I'm getting paid to do this, yada, yada, yada. I think for integrity and transparency as a leftist, if you are talking to these Democratic strategists, whoever they fucking are, but they're part of the Democratic Party machine, I think that you should be responsible to your audience and name them. Name them so we know their track record, their history, and how they moving forward. And we don't have to wonder, wait, who and why are they reaching out to you? I think that needs to change a little bit. I think we need some transparency in that regard. I'll be transparent and say that, yeah, I don't want to be rude, but I had met Butch Ware when he was running for alongside Jill Stein. He was running for VP. She was running for president. I met him and I told him, hey, can I interview you? And he was super cool, super nice. And he goes, oh, some other time. And we exchanged information. And then I messaged him and left me on red. And it was totally understandable. I was nobody, probably had a few hundred subscribers at that point. And I'm still a nobody, a couple thousand, but, in comparison to these, big streamers, let's be honest about where we're at. We're getting there, but, we're going to get there, but this is where we're at currently. So I didn't take it personal. I don't take a lot of these things personal. I recognize that online is a fucking pretend world. But then later on, and I'll be vague in this part, reached out and said, okay, let's get something together. My thing is, I don't think it's smart for you to talk to me. I don't think it's smart for you to talk to me. He had a great conversation with Dr. Ball. I loved it. Worth re-listening to, giving us a different perspective. Oh, Dr. Ball opened up about Dr. John Henry Clark's, Muslim sentiment, Dr. Carr doing similar, like all these things. And I was like fascinated with that. Like analyzing and being hypercritical of your intellectual heroes and um, with their biases and their bigotry and how they've been misled. Like to me, that is so valuable. That is so valuable and healthy to do. So, much respect and credit and gratitude towards, I believe it's also Dr. Butch Ware, right? I believe he's also has a doctorate. So I always want to respect, especially when it comes to black men and women. Like, and this is why I'm always gonna call him Dr. Ball. I don't care. The respect has to be there. The respect has to be there, especially when you're our elders. But for me, I'm like, you don't want to talk to me, bro. Because I'm not here to play nice with anyone. I'll be respectful. Don't get me wrong. I'll always do my best to be respectful and represent the way that I was raised. But the questions and the actual pushback I'm going to give, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Because I don't want to diminish your race or I don't want to see somebody that is combating the democratic machine get put through that. And I know I'm coming off arrogant, but to me, these are very simple questions. It's the follow through that might be an issue. So for me, I'm like, who are you talking to? And why are they reaching out to you? The Democratic Party reaching out to a socialist? That's interesting. And I'm sure it's happened multiple times. I'm sure it's still going on. You got to wonder, if you are a threat to an establishment, if you're out here truly questioning power and pushing back against it, why are they reaching out to you? Why are they reaching out to you? Why are you in communication and contact with them? Why are they inviting you to their events? They're not trying to co-opt you if you're playing along to begin with.
So what is your assessment on this?
Yeah, and I'll just say there's been polling. I remember there's one poll that came out in 2019 by the Center for American Progress, where I used to work years and years ago. But I say that because, the Center for American Progress is a very closely party-aligned think tank, and they put out a poll that showed a majority of Democrats in 2019 supported, blocking aid, conditioning aid. So this has been a majority position among Democratic voters for more than 2 election cycles now. It's now a super majority that supports this, and for very understandable reasons. Now I don't know that I know that the Pod Save guys have actually covered Gaza and Palestine quite a bit. I do want to recognize that. And going back to 2019, it was actually, they hosted a series of talks at the J Street conference where Bernie came out and declared, conditioning aid. Warren came out. Buttigieg came out and declared support for it for like 2 weeks until he got some pushback. And so that's when he kind of moved off it. So
what is so frustrating about Buttigieg is, if they do push him, or if he's one of the Democratic presidential nominees, again, it's gonna be weird because he's gonna get support because we're gonna have the first gay president, and he's white, so it's not too scary. But I don't see him winning because he is so fickle. And now more than ever, if the Democratic Party is gonna push somebody, it's gotta be somebody who's staunch, who like doubles down, who is mulo, is stubborn. That's who you need. That's who people want. It's not even so much about the politics. It's not about whatever their fucking agenda is going to be. It's about the personality and their attitude, and they want a analog to fucking Donald Trump. They want a challenge to it. Patrick Johnson, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat. The semantic gotta stop. Keep up the good work. I appreciate it. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all for the support. We're all struggling out here, and I know it's not easy, so I do truly appreciate it. Thank you so much there. And then somebody also mentioned about respecting how somebody wants to be, how they want to be called, and I get that in terms of pronouns, like 100%, that I'm with. When it comes to titles and stuff like that, the issue here is, and I talked about it again in when I say, hey, like the black community, with all due respect, please gatekeep us brown people harder. I know we're not white, but please, the anti-blackness is too much. It's too much, and our proximity to whiteness is too fucking desperate. So gatekeep. You know, at the end of the day, it's on us, the brown community, to check each other and to police each other in regards to racism, xenophobia, bigotry, and anti-blackness. But also, you know, don't let us come through that easily. You know, stop being so charitable to us. Make us earn it. Make us work for it. And one of those things is sometimes, and I've seen this, and I can see how I could be perceived as condescending. I can see that. But in the attempt of being friendly and being like us being cool, like equals, and saying, hey, it doesn't matter, my title doesn't matter, my age doesn't matter, you know, we're both in this together. In that attempt to build that camaraderie, I get that aspect of it. But the black sentiment and the dismissal of the work that it takes to get a doctorate, the work that it takes to become so knowledgeable, the work that they've put in, it gets diminished and pushed aside so much that I don't want to contribute to that in any regard. And man, I'm telling you, and I said this to FD, like when Noah Samson, the white feminist Noah Samson, when he was calling FD Unc, it did make me uncomfortable because I'm like, you know, what are you doing here? What's going on? I did go, what do you mean by that? You know, it did make me question that. But in that same kind of way of thinking, I want to make sure that I represent the way that we should be speaking to and treating, you know, individuals like Dr. Ball with the respect that they deserve and that they've earned. Right? So that's why I do put an emphasis on that. Because too many people that look like me, even if they're not like blatantly anti-black, do that passive aggressive fucking dismissive shit that I don't want to contribute to. And so I'm not just, you know, doing it out of respect for them. I'm doing it as the example that I want to set forth for other brown people that are going to come up in this space. Because we get, you know, estamos muy cómodos. We get too comfortable. And that's what I'm trying to, you know, make sure that from the onset, I'm pushing back against. And you know what's weird? And I've seen those stats, like after kindergarten or after like preschool, like the number of black teachers and especially black professors that you have just crashes. And so we're also not used to being in a classroom, you know, seeing that. Some of us are, depending where we grew up, and you know, but I'm saying statistically, broadly speaking, we're also, you know, don't have that mindset of, okay, this is somebody that is professing their knowledge or is a teacher passing down this knowledge. And so it becomes easier to kind of like push aside. Doesn't mean I'm not going to joke around. That doesn't mean I'm not going to, you know, eventually roast Dr. Ball like like I love roasting older people. That's going to happen. That's just my personality. You know, and I always try to be, you know, respectful with it and make sure that everybody's getting a good laugh. And I encourage it, you know, to come my way. So I'm just saying, it's there. Just because I'm calling him Dr. Ball doesn't mean, you know, that I'm not gonna act a fool either. It's part of it. And maybe I took a little bit too long with that, but I just really want to emphasize that because I think it's important to show that respect.
Going to Harris, you know, what I'll say is this, like I said about, you know, why it's a litmus test. I think it's impossible to say, you know, the actual, you know, down to the decimal point, what impact Gaza made on her loss. I think there is no question that it played a role, not just among voters for whom that is a priority issue, And, to people who criticize, the left for being, one issue on Gaza, I'm like, being one issue on a genocide, I think that's a fairly decent thing to be one issue about. The fact that your government is supporting a genocide in front of our eyes. But it was also
said it best. He said, "A party that is unwilling to stop a genocide. What makes you think they are willing to defend democracy?"
That's right. That's exactly right, and that's also kind of what I was getting at, is that even for people for whom Gaza and the issue of Palestinian rights is not a real priority, the fact that she couldn't give the bare minimum, that she couldn't depart from these pre-baked nonsense talking points about how too many Palestinians have died and we're all so sad to watch this happening day after day after day, as if we weren't, completely complicit in this happening, just signaled that she wasn't for real. People are looking to be, they want to believe people. And she was not believable on this. And I think that, that signaled that she's probably not for real on a whole bunch of other things too.
Yeah.
This is hilarious because of this. Watch. You'll see you'll see why I find this so fucking humorous and how fucking fake these people are. Look at this. Where are they at? Where are they at?
No narcs.
No narcs. All right, you're in a whole fucking table, bro. Like hanging out with these fucking people. These are their friends. These are their colleagues. Fucking driving him around. But this part right here, watch. Let's see if we can find it. Right. And it's funny thing. I used to respect David Grissom. Matt Leck, I got into it with him. You all saw that debate there about Zionism, and I noticed that Matt Leck is always pushing these critical Zionists, like Jeff Halpert, like Ilan Pape, and very rarely does he actually reference or quote actual Palestinians. But this is the funny part here. This is what's humorous to me. Now notice, even Matt Duss is saying, yeah, the fact that she wasn't willing, Kamala Harris wasn't willing to at least pander. My translation is at least pander. That said a lot. But Emma Vigeland was going out of her way time and time again, and I repeat, trying desperately to wash the blood of Palestinian off of Kamala Harris' hands in order to get people to vote for her, in order for people to have this false sense of hope that somehow she would be better than Harris, than Biden, than Genocide Joe himself. There's this dumbass line where she's like, Sam Cedars like, before I vote for Joe Stein, I'll leave it blank just to show the Democrats. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Look.
People say there's no evidence. Like maybe there's no evidence for Harris being better or worse. Or there's no evidence for Harris being definitively better than Biden. We'll say, but there's no evidence showing that she's aligned with Biden's conservatism throughout his entire career as it relates to this issue. So it's more about like an absence of evidence and then reading the tea leaves about her political ideology and what that means as it relates to Zionism issue. So it's more about like an absence of evidence and then reading the tea leaves about her political ideology and what that means as it relates to Zionism.
It's more of an absence of evidence. There are known knowns and then there are known unknowns. And unknown unknowns, I don't fucking know, bro. Like when you've gone to this level, of normalizing a genocidal monster, you cannot be trusted. Especially when you're this fucking filthy wasp. You just can't. It is amazing that this person is taken seriously. And this is literally what they're talking about. Literally what Hasan and Matt Duss are talking about. These type of fucking people.
So it's more about like an absence of evidence and then reading the tea leaves about her political ideology and what that means as it relates to Zionism.
Mind you, Harris was literally saying, "No, I will not change anything that Joe Biden is doing." Her team was coming out and saying that. And when Harris would say it, Emma Vigeland would be like, well, she has to say that. But listen to what her team is doing, to what they're saying. And then when her team would come out and say, no, we're fucking Zionists, then Emma Vigeland would be like, well, no, we got to see what Kamala Harris is doing and her actions and the tea leaves and the tea leaves and the tea leaves. These people are genocide normalizers. These people are genocide normalizers. They do not view Palestinians as full human beings, because if they were doing this to fucking white people, and we saw it when it was first about the Ukrainians, we saw how they truly cared then. Jabari, gee, thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. Not only do I appreciate your insight, but I'm grateful for your undefeated chat. Peace to y'all. Yes, peace to the chat. The chat remains undefeated. Dr. Ball. Yeah. When he's right, he's right. But hey, Emma Vigeland, the tea leaf reader herself. These are our political commentators. This is the best the white left has to offer. This is the best the white left has to offer. Fucking tea leaf readers. What? Oh man, this is something else. And the fact that like people on the left don't point this out, don't see this, and are disgusted, at the very least disappointed with this, blows me away. It just makes me feel like, man, do I really hate white people? Am I anti-white? Is that my problem? Like, is it me? Is it me? Man. Now this part doesn't even include Sam Cedar's genius political get back at the Democratic Party. Man. But this is what they're talking about. This is the people he hangs out with in his free time. People that do the exact same thing that he's supposedly critical of.
No, it was a perfect issue to show the problems that was emblematic within the entire Democratic Party's inability to listen to the demands being made.
I'm sorry. I just y'all know that I love bringing the evidence. I love having receipts, and so it bothers me when I don't do it. And I know I need to move on. It's already 12. Video drops in an hour and a half. We're rolling all the way through. But this is just it's too much. Harris, Israel. Was it NBC? What was it? It was a strategy or change, something like that. It was this one. Let's see the transcript. Was it Command P? Yeah. Oh, no. We're not going to print that out. It's Command F. There we go. Israel. Ugh. No? Did I spell it wrong? Patrick Johnson, appreciate the super chat again. If this is the best the white left has to offer, you're gonna make it. P.S. Please enjoy some more birria tacos. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man. You already know. Thank you so much again. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Oh man. I love birria tacos. I don't know what to tell you. It always trips me up. I understand. Look. All right, we'll get briefly into it. I understand how people don't like tacos de lengua. I get it. The texture's funky. I get it. I need to write this. I'm going to write that down because I want to make a whole thing about it. I understand it. I loved it. That was my favorite fucking taco growing up. Tacos de lengua. That's basically like asada. I thought was overhyped, but I get it. It's a safe choice. The pollo, you're just wasting everybody's time, but I get it. Kind of the safe choice. Tacos de lengua for me were like top tier, and I haven't had some in quite some time. I just overdid it. I overdid it. Like, I've eaten enough tacos de lengua for a fucking lifetime. I'm good. I love them. They're great. But I just don't order them anymore. I just don't. Not for any other reason than I ate too much of them. But tacos de birria, I don't feel like you really can't. You can never get tired of that. You can never get tired of it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. Okay, that's the other. Let's see, now we're talking. Tripa is next level stuff. I had to get older to really appreciate tacos de tripa. But once I did, if you get some good tripa, it's a wrap. I don't like talking about what videos I'm gonna do and not do because things change. Is there? Let's find out. Let's find out. Because if there's already a video on it, then it is what it is. Soul food. We'll just do that. Mexicans try soul food for the first time. Okay, there isn't. All right. I'm gonna do some real beaner shit. Maybe the next video. All right. Thank you, Patrick Johnson. Well, all right. I'm thinking about something. It's getting the minds are working. All right. But let's hear her in her own words. I believe this is like towards the second half. I don't know why it's not in the transcript when I'm searching it. Yeah, because as soon as I put Israel, it's like all over. And it's like moving shit around. So that's weird. Let's see here. I believe it's like 2 minutes in. It is towards the end because I know that the interview ends towards that. Yeah, that's when she talks about her switching up about, bro, she was switching up about everything about global warming. She switched up on that. Oh, here it is. Okay. Weapons. Cool. Okay, we're around here. It was towards the end. So we'll go back a little bit. Oh, it's muted. My bad.
Become commander-in-chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young...
Unwavering, unchanged. These people are sick in the head.
People who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
And in the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done.
No. And Emma Vigeland and all these disgusting genocide normalizers were lying to your face.
Made by their base, their own base, that they were so willing to throw them aside to say, we're not going to do anything on this. We're just going to stay the course and just feed a bunch of bullshit about how they're trying desperately to get a ceasefire deal done, when in fact everyone who was even like a little bit aware of what was going on would either get mad because they're like, what do you mean we can't get a ceasefire done? We're America, okay? Or or they just thought, okay, well, you're feckless, like you're unable to do this, like you're weak. Or of course they knew the truth, which was this is bullshit, which is what I want to ask you about, because I have tweeted a lot of things. I've said a lot of things about Israel, and
I've tweeted so much. I've tweeted like no other. I have tweeted so hard and so consistently. I've been so disciplined with my tweeting. It'll make you sick if you're online this much. It'll make you sick. You'll lose touch with reality. I'm telling you. Do not be online this. How embarrassed and ashamed, and I blame y'all every single time. I have to hold myself accountable when we hit 5 hours. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, come on, let's wrap it up. Let's get it together. I'm not gonna lie. Last time when we did 2, I was like, I was lazy. That was insufficient. I think 4 hours is a sweet spot. 5 hours is pushing it, but 4 hours is a sweet spot. But this motherfucker does like 10 hours daily. Was bragging at NPR that he hasn't had like a 3 days off consecutively, and whoever how long. But it's like, bro, you're flying out to Japan whenever you want. Like, chill the fuck out. But you do, this sickness, and I do see myself becoming like wider. I don't know why that shit's changing so much. Because then it gets, maybe then, I don't know. I'm brown, I swear I'm brown. All year round, baby. Well, my point being, I think I lost my train of thought there. Not gonna lie. My apologies. It threw me off. I started looking like a fucking Smurf. I don't know what you want from me. Man, the tweeting stuff. Like, you gotta get offline, man. If you look at my Twitter and follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, look, my Instagram, yo. If you follow me on Instagram, I don't post anything. I need to work on that. That's my bad. On Twitter, I'll retweet stuff and I'll do this and that, but I'm not. It's a fucking joke. It's a yoke. Come on.
And all of the militant resistance against Israel that oftentimes Zionists get very mad about. People that are doing Hasbara, people that are pro-Israel get very mad about. One of those is the notion that this conflict could end, this genocide could end at any given point with one phone call. And I wanted to hear, what your perspective is. You're a foreign policy guy. And if you think that, well, this is, of course, an exaggerated claim. It's not literally one phone call, but it's as close to one phone call as you can get in American politics. And it has ended with one phone call in the past with George H.W. Bush, with the continuation of the settlement projects with Ronald Reagan, with Lebanon, and also with Joe Biden in 2021 with Israel's siege on Gaza in 2021. So what's your assessment on that?
Yeah, as you said, not one phone call, not one day, but as Joe Biden did in May 2021, he calls up Netanyahu and says, we're out of runway here. We got to wrap this thing up.
That's what's annoying is like, you are the main voice of the online left. GQ magazine, NPR, the New York Times, all this stuff, the Washington Post. So why? There's some responsibility with that. Why are you like, and you acknowledge it yourself that you're exaggerating, you're being hyperbolic. Why? Why push this with one phone call shit and giving, liberals who normalize genocide harder than you because you voted for Harris? Why give, these centrists that room to work with and say it's not just one phone call? Just be honest and be like, no, like the Biden administration could have ended at any point with enough push. Maybe not one phone call, but with enough of a push. And he admits it even in his own fucking question. That's why it's so fucking annoying. It's like, if you're already putting like your own asterisk on your own question, doesn't that go to show that you've been wording shit wrong, that you've been approaching it in the wrong way? If you are saying the thing I've been saying about one phone call, that's not accurate, but it's pretty close, isn't it? It's like, okay, well then just be accurate. More importantly, why are you focusing in on the fact that with one phone call this can happen, or with a few phone calls this could happen, instead of focusing on the fact that they want this to continue occurring. The US, the United States, wants the complete colonization of Palestine in order to start establishing the region and get into, a true regional fight for resources and influence in the so-called Middle East, right? In order to combat the expansion of the Chinese influence.
He never did that.
Yeah.
Here. And granted, the mood of Israel, the reaction to October 7th, this was a different situation, but still, after.
I get what you're saying, the Soulless King. I understand what you're saying. And I hope I address, your criticism that it's petty. He's bringing up the question because he's gotten so much pushback from liberals and centrists. And I'm telling you this because I watched their content, and they're like, it's not one phone call, it's this and that. And they get into it. When you're not providing, when you're so desperate to sloganeer everything, to make everything into some fucking catchy thing, and to concise it into a fucking tweet, that you're giving way for these fucking liberals to excuse the same fucking genocide that you were willing to vote for, you're doing the shit wrong. And nothing highlights it more than when you ask a Zionist like Duss over here, hey, am I right if I were to actually, if we understand that I'm exaggerating? Because for quite some time, people were saying this very seriously. They were referencing to Ronald Reagan. All it takes is one phone call. And I was frustrated at that moment because I'm like, yeah, it could just be one phone call. But the problem is you're not recognizing the opportunity of the Benjamin Netanyahu, regime in their perception of October 7th, the opportunity that it would provide for them. So it would definitely take more than one phone call because those two moments are not the same. Those two moments were not the same. Their arguments is that we have no control. No. From liberals? No, that's not their argument. At least the ones I'm watching and listening to and trying to tune in. Like I said, I used to tell people to listen to Destiny if you want to hear good liberal arguments. And by good, I mean somebody arguing well the liberal arguments that are shit. And because he is a predator, we're learning more and more every day. I don't know how fucking disgusting. Because of that, now I don't say that. But there are people like Pisco. There are people like Hutch, right? They are like, pondering politics. Like, there's a lot of these liberals that were saying, like, he's wrong. Hasan is wrong. It's not just one phone call. Because you are going to be challenged when you're consistently hyperbolic and you make things into a fucking slogan when it's not necessary. You could literally just say, we could bring us off to this. And then you're combating the fucking anti-Semitism of thinking that Zog controls everything in order to excuse, WASP atrocities. And you're accurately stating the fact that those in power in the US can stop it whenever they want. But it's not just one fucking phone call. So you sound ridiculous. You sound ridiculous when you say, and of course it's going to make me sound petty and anybody being critical of that petty. Because it's like, oh, you know what he means. Then say what you fucking mean. Then say what you fucking mean. Not everything has to be a fucking catchphrase. Not everything has to be a fucking slogan. You stream for fucking 10 hours a day. You could expand. You could be fucking nuanced. You could elaborate. Sometimes it does not pay to be fucking shorthanded with shit. Because you give an opportunity for these fucking bastards to accurately push back.
Months and months and months of this, and knowing for a fact, and let's be clear, they knew for a fact what Israel was doing. They had complete visibility onto Israel's policy, its strategy, its tactics. And this is something I bring up a lot because I think it's important to note. I mean, the Biden administration assessed publicly that Russia was committing war crimes in Ukraine within a month of the February 2022 invasion. They could not, by the end of the Biden administration, after whatever it was, 18 months, they still could not come out with an assessment of Israel's, behavior in Gaza. I mean,
The Soulless King, if he says it too, then abandon the fucking, uh, abandon the one phone call slogan. It doesn't fucking work, and it doesn't really fucking mean anything, because why the fuck would they make the phone call? Why the fuck, if even if it fucking worked, why would they make the phone call? Okay, then stop fucking saying it. If you need to fucking explain it, if you need to add fucking a citation to your own fucking slogan, maybe it's fucking not a good slogan. And why make that a slogan with one phone call? When then it kind of makes it seem like Joe Biden would ever make that phone call. He wouldn't. He's a fucking Zionist. So why is that even part of the conversation?
I mean, that's just such bullshit. We have such absolute visibility, far greater visibility into Gaza, into Israel's tactics and what it's doing than we do into what Russia's doing. And the fact that they couldn't make an assessment, which everyone can see on their phones, literally everyone, Palestinians are reporting it.
USAID itself actually floated a report all the way up to Anthony Blinken, and he spiked it on purpose because he wanted to continue unlimited weapons to Israel.
That was not the only report. I mean, I know that, there were numerous people inside USAID, inside state, and, other.
Soulless King, as always, I do appreciate the pushback. If I get riled up, I don't want you to think that I don't want to hear it. I do want to hear it. My argument, because you're saying that it's semantics, is you don't get to say it's just semantics when you're wrong. When you're wrong, it wouldn't matter what fucking president was in office. Following October 7th and the opportunity that Benjamin Netanyahu saw to try to exterminate the indigenous Palestinian population, try to maintain power because of the legal matters that he was involved in, one phone call was never going to do it. One phone call was never going to do it. It was always going to require multiple steps. It was always going to, but more importantly, it was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. So it's ridiculous on both fronts. One, it was not going to be one phone call. In that case, you don't acknowledge the opportunity that Benjamin Netanyahu saw. So one phone call was never going to happen. Two, that phone call was never going to fucking occur to begin with. So that's what I'm saying. It's a fucking stupid slogan, no matter how you explain it. But I do sincerely mean, thank you for pushing back. I don't want this to become, it's going to happen, but like a full-on echo chamber. And you allow me to further elaborate, my position. And not only that, for those people that are watching and not in the chat, who are supporters of Hasan Piker, who have drank the Kool-Aid, they might be having the same criticisms of my positions that you have. That is just all semantics. And now you've allowed me and given me the opportunity to explain myself further and hopefully let them not change their worldview, but understand where I'm coming from better. So I do mean that, Soulless King. Thank you.
Others outside the government who were reporting this, sounding the alarm, and they constantly, Blinken and Biden, because Biden had simply decided at the beginning, we're just going to support Israel. This is his long, deeply ideologically held view, that this is how the relationship works. And I do also, my understanding is that they actually thought, because Netanyahu kept telling them that, I'm gonna downshift. We're gonna start to wrap this thing up in the next couple months. And if you believe him once, okay. But they kept on getting screwed by Netanyahu, and I don't absolve them for that, because the idea that Joe Biden, like the greatest foreign policy president of all time, was going to keep getting fooled by this grubby crook Netanyahu, I just don't buy that.
Yeah, no, he was on it. He was invested in the continuation of Israel's slaughter. I think.
I mean, do I?
100%, absolutely. And Matt Duss said it earlier himself. They knew what was occurring. If they were able to analyze the situation on the ground in regards to Russia and Ukraine, then they absolutely knew what was occurring on the ground as the Zionist entity was trying to exterminate Palestinians. From the onset, they knew. That's what I'm saying. That phone call was never fucking going to occur. Now I'll move on from the phone call, but it's a ridiculous notion that the Democratic Party was ever going to bring a halt to this, no matter who was in office, whether Biden or Harris. That's why I've been saying this should have been the end, the death of the Democratic Party, if liberals actually had a fucking conscience, if they actually had souls, but they don't.
Think that Biden just wanted to keep supporting what Israel was doing? I don't. I think when he came out and kind of proposed that ceasefire agreement in May of 2024, he really wanted that to happen. But the fact is, he was not willing to do what was necessary to actually make it happen, which was to make that phone call, to bring that pressure to say to Netanyahu, we are stopping support for this. We're stopping military support. We're stopping intelligence support. We're going to stop giving you diplomatic cover. You're going to face all these consequences unless you do A, B, and C. And Joe Biden was just never willing to do that.
And I believe Hasan's gonna push back on this, so credit to him there. But again, it's all light pushback. If that's how you want to carry these conversations, if you're afraid of actually getting into debate over it because he's not a good debater, whatever. I do think that he actually likes Matt Duss and what Matt Duss did for Bernie Sanders. We know that Hasan will say that Zionists don't have the right to even be dog catchers, shouldn't even be allowed to be dog catchers in society, but he has a sweet spot for Bernie Sanders. So whatever. Maybe it's a personal thing. I'm not going to pretend to know. But this whole idea, this again, speaking from both sides out of his mouth, Matt Duss, of saying, I do believe that Joe Biden wanted to secure a ceasefire, wanted to bring this to an end, but he was unwilling to do the things necessary to secure that. So there's a disconnect here. Oh, he really wanted it in his heart of hearts. He's a good man. He's a good Catholic boy. But unfortunately, the actions that he actually took and that he carried out wasn't going to reach him to that conclusion. Wasn't going to reach to that objective of securing a ceasefire, of bringing an end to this. But he really, really, really wanted to. He did. No, but you have to believe me. I read his journal, and in his journal said, I want this to stop. And I heard him. He was about to go to sleep, and I heard him. I was going to say, Joe, are you still awake? But I don't want to disturb him. And I heard, and I heard him. He was praying. And he was saying, Diosito lindo. He was saying, sweet God, please bring this to an end. And then he went to sleep. And I was like, oh my gosh, Genocide Joe. He's so kind-hearted. He's so kind-hearted. But unfortunately, his actions, when he woke up the next day, his actions were a little bit different. This is sick, bro. The way that he's trying to diminish and downplay how fucking bloodthirsty these genocidal monsters that he wants you to continue to support, continue to vote for, truly are. It's so childish to be like, no, he really did want to. He just didn't. He's just a president. I don't know what you want from him.
Yeah, which is why I say he wanted it to continue happening. And that's what I mean. I think, like, the way I look at it.
But see, and that's why people were critical of him. I'm surprised he even said that. Because he's been normalizing fucking liberal Zionists like Ethan Klein prior to October 7th, like Sam Cedar, who literally says, I've never considered myself an anti-Zionist per se. He said that shit to fucking Hasan Piker to his fucking face, and Hasan was so like, Ethan, you got to talk to this European. Man, it's ridiculous. So that's why for me, I'm like, oh shit, he actually like kind of whispered, well, that's what I'm saying. I think Joe Biden did want it. But anywho, let's move along. Before people realize they're fucking Zionists, let's keep it pushing. Man, that was his pushback to that, by the way. That was his pushback. We're at 3242. I think it's just like 32 what? Well, I guess we got to do 33.
Just never willing to do that.
Yeah, which is why I say he wanted it to continue happening. And that's what I mean. I think, like, the way I look at it, I have a more simplified, maybe too reductive of a attitude on this kind of stuff, where I just think that, like, America's global power is waning. And I think that...
Sorry, and Walker, the point of these conversations is to normalize the continued existence of the Zionist project. To make Matt Duss, to make Sam Cedar, to make people like Peter Beinart, to appear like allies, like rational actors, like people that you could, negotiate in good faith with. They are the vanguard of the liberal Zionist propagandist movement. That is their role. A lot of Zionists, a lot of liberal Zionists went completely unhinged and went full rabid fucking Zionists after October 7th. But those that kept their fucking head on a swivel, whose main concern is the survival of the Zionist project long term, like Sam Cedar, like Peter Beinart, like Matt Duss, they're like, no, we got to pull it back and we got to talk to these fucking so-called leftists in such a way that will make them believe that we're on the same side and that we want to achieve, if not the same exact goals, peace. And you can't have peace as long as settler colonial project exists, as long as it continues to exist. I don't want to butcher your name. Literally, my contacts are like acting over here. Axio, Access Audio. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it so much. Thank you for the support. Let me adjust here. After October 7th, Cedar said Biden must give Israel stop. Yeah, Israel weapons. Is that true? I don't remember that. I'm not gonna lie. Access Audio. You gotta bring the receipts. You know how we gotta hold each other accountable. Thank you for the super chat. I remember during that time I was kind of like blown away with how like what a Zionist Sam Cedar truly is. So I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying I need the receipts in order to add that to the fucking rotation. In order to add that to the rotation. Because we have it where Sam Cedar is calling for the death of the Palestinian resistance forces leadership. We have that, how he wants to see I'll pull it up right now. The leadership dismantled and destroyed. Oh, by the way, this is Sam Cedar literally telling Hasan Piker that he's not an anti-Zionist.
I had the other day on my show. I never labeled myself.
I stayed on this motherfucker's mind. In the beginning, he says the debate I had the other day on my show. Talking about me. Haunting this man.
I had the other day on my show. I never labeled myself a Zionist, although I think, maybe, I don't know that I was ever a Zionist, different people had maybe draw the distinctions at different points.
So I gave him that intellectual CTE. Because what happened here is that now he's being forced to say, well, certain people might consider me a Zionist because of my position. And he's admitting this to Hasan. So Hasan is speaking to somebody that he's glorifying as a righteous Jewish ally to Palestinians. And Sam Cedar's telling him to his face, some people may consider me a Zionist. I don't call myself a Zionist, but some people might. And that doesn't ring any fucking alarm bells?
I never labeled myself an anti-Zionist because
So he's saying some people might view me as a Zionist, although I don't call myself one. But I've never called myself an anti-Zionist. Maybe those people calling you a Zionist might have a fucking point then. Maybe those people calling you a fucking Zionist might have a point then. Wow. To his fucking face.
So I think, maybe I never labeled myself a Zionist, although I think, maybe, I don't know that I was ever a Zionist, different people had maybe draw the distinctions at different points. But I never labeled myself an anti-Zionist because I don't feel like I have to participate in this concept. I believe in democracy and I believe in human rights. And
I don't feel, and this is a smugness of liberals, I don't feel like I have to muddy my hands and get involved with such things. Zionist, anti-Zionist, I believe in democracy. Well, you can have democracy in a settler colonial project once you've exterminated enough of the indigenous population to where one vote isn't going to change the fact that it's a settler colonial fucking project. It's so fucking frustrating, man. It's so fucking frustrating. Access audio. Let's see. Don't know if there's a link. Don't know if links show for you, but Bad Empanada discussed it. You know, and I don't like that fucking Australian Argentinian, but he does a really good job at it. He's like the only person on the left that calls out Sam Cedar. He actually had a debate with Matt Bender had a debate with Matt Binder. Sorry. Bad Empanada had a debate with Matt Binder. And it was all over the place. It was quite annoying because they were both wrong in different ways. And I was just shouting at in the car ride home. Because it was about Matt Bender made it sound like one of the Nazi like Mexican American, I believe it was Mexican American, like neo-Nazi guy did some fucking shooting or something like that. And Matt Bender basically made it sound like he changed it about Latin America and made it about Argentina and all the Nazis going there. And Bad Empanada was like, how dare you say anything bad about Argentina and our white supremacy over here? When it rightfully, when this was like a Mexican American dude raised in America, what does that have to do with Argentina and Nazis? But they were both wrong because Bad Empanada was like acting like Argentina is in like a fucking safe haven for like white supremacists. It's like the white fucking heaven on earth type shit. While Matt Bender was acting like he was justified to bring up Argentina when talking about I believe he was Mexican American, the shooter. It made no sense to make that reach. It's you know, an American problem. But yeah, but Bad Empanada is like the only one that calls out those fools. The title is "What Does Sam Cedar Even Believe?" Bad Empanada. It was on his live stream. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, because they were crying about USAID. Oh, look, I started watching it. Or maybe I did watch the whole thing. It's 8 minutes. It's already 8:34. I watched this on my own because I do dislike Bad Empanada on a personal level. Is that petty? Is that wrong? Access Audio did donate though. All right, we'll watch it because you did send a super chat. Oh, that's so funny. This is the hold on. This is I'm not lying to y'all. And I don't watch Bad Empanada stuff. That is the one. That's the thing that I was looking for here that I've shared in the past. I don't think I'm gonna find it though, which is super annoying because I don't use it as often. Maybe if I put like Sam Cedar Hamas or Sam Cedar Palestine. No. Oh, here it is. Look, I'm not lying. This is way back. Oh well, I reposted it on March 5th, but I've been putting it up consistently. And then we'll go back to the Bad Empanada video.
It doesn't justify anything that Hamas did. You know, I would love to see sitting next to Ariel Sharon and Yasser Arafat in the sort of trials against humanity, and they're both sitting there in hellfire. I would love to put Netanyahu and all of the leadership of Hamas.
So Netanyahu, one fucking colonizer, equals all the leadership of Hamas. That's how much. Every time I listen to that, I'm like, you're so fucking ridiculous, bro. You're such a fucking Zionist. You're such a liberal fucking Zionist. It's atrocious. Oh man. Let's see. Harutsu, thank you for the super chat. I haven't found a convincing argument yet that makes Hamas worse than Israel yet. I don't see Hamas being the de facto bad guys much longer. I mean, hopefully. Again, thank you for the super chat. The problem is that early on, when people like Piers Morgan were asking, do you denounce Hamas? Individuals like Hasan Piker wouldn't say no. They would say, I don't denounce Hamas, but they did commit some war crimes, or they did commit atrocities, this and that. So you can't even give that. You can't even give an inch. But thank you for the super chat. And yeah, I mean, all armed resistance forces should be viewed as fucking heroes. As fucking heroes. You know, but it always takes a couple fucking decades after the fact for that to get embraced. So yeah, so I clipped that out, but again, Axis Studios did send that super chat, so let's watch a little bit of this empanada thing.
In offering, I also think that Biden should, it's perfectly legitimate for him to offer full support to Israel. But
Sam Cedar.
I don't want to hear about empanada right now. So that is fucking crazy. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself for not clipping that out on my own. Because it's from that, but it was, so my clip is from, oh, I exited out. Bummer. You know what it might have been? I think mine was from the actual live stream. And this is like after the fact he's watching the clip. But yeah, man, that's fucking this. He's such a fucking Zionist. He's such a fucking Zionist. If I would have known about this when I fucking called in, I think I whooped the entire crew. I whooped all those fucking white people. I can say that confidently. I could have done way better. I probably shouldn't have been laughing at them, but they're so fucking ridiculous that like I couldn't help it. White liberals are fucking humorous to me. But this is who Hasan Piker has been pushing. Literally, Hasan Piker is the reason that Sam Cedar and Ethan Klein debated. Because Hasan Piker was saying, oh yeah, Sam Cedar is a good Jewish ally to Palestinians. He's a good Jewish ally to Palestinians. And here he is saying, oh no, I think it's perfectly legitimate for Biden to have armed Israel following October 7th. Following the indigenous Palestinian population actually hitting them back. Fucking... man, there's a special fucking place for these people. Access Studios, I hope you understand that I just don't want to listen to fucking Bad Empanada. But thank you for pulling that up. We did listen to a part that you mentioned, and you're absolutely correct. Once again, I was not trying to question you, like whether you're lying or not. I just needed this. And funny enough, it was right under my nose. It goes back to Steven Crowder. Yeah, no. Sam Cedar and Ethan Klein, like knowing each other and being like at least professionally cool. Yes, they had that. But in terms of why Ethan eventually debated, it's a debate among Zionists, Sam Cedar, was because Hasan kept pushing Sam Cedar as a righteous Jewish ally to Palestinians when he's been a Zionist all along. All right.
Israel is a profoundly important regional ally for American interests. Both because of that, Israel has been able to create this like pervasive network of influence peddling and pressure campaigns that have created this environment, both by way of the media and also by way of like lobbying efforts. They've created this information environment that is utterly at odds with what is going on the ground. And they thought that they could continue this going after October 7. But of course, with social media, it was impossible to maintain a pressure campaign or keep people in the dark. But I think the American foreign policy apparatus was of two minds. You had the State Department people that saw what.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm sorry. David Barnes. I don't know if you saw, Carlos, but I think Lance from the Serfs banned me from chat when I recommended blood in my eye for 2 weeks straight. Okay, it's so hard to be charitable to these fucking liberals. It's fucking white people, bro. It might have been one of his mods. I'm sure they're all probably white. I don't know. I'm actually more surprised that he knows what that even entails, what that book is referring to. That is actually more surprising than him or one of him or somebody or one of his mods banning you for 2 weeks. Damn. I don't watch the Serfs at all. I cannot stand that motherfucker's voice. I don't know what it is. I can't stand Lance's voice. I can't stand Hasan's voice. Lance, it might just be a Canadian thing that that it's unsettling. Hasan, it's the fake deep voice. Everybody else I can pretty much listen to. Sam Cedar, I just got to speed it up. I'm trying to think because I'm a hater, but I don't think a voice thing is really an issue other than with those two people. And I don't really like Lance. I just think he's a fucking joke. He's a fucking joke. He's truly a pathetic man. The way I don't understand why these motherfuckers willingly debate when they're so bad at it. I don't understand it. Man. The Jamin, the laughing is what broke Emma's brain. I think you would have done better if it was just you and him. He needed a team, so don't underestimate yourself. I appreciate that. And I do think, 100%. I don't think these people are used to being laughed at and mocked. They're used to being the smartest person in the room. And they're not especially used from getting hit from their left because they're not around leftists. They're not around, like, they don't organize. They've never organized like that. Even Emma Vigeland admitted when she was on with Hasan Piker, the DSA convention, that she's like, oh, I don't actually go to meetings, but I pay my dues. And I hear that's a good thing. Am I going to have to play it? Because I don't like to, you know how I am. I don't like to fucking talk out of turn without providing evidence. She literally says this. It's going to be here. Wherever Emma shows up. As soon as we see Emma, we're moving out. Did he edit her out of this one? That's funny. That would be hilarious. That is not who I think it is. Am I being racist? Please let me be racist. Like I'd rather be racist than think that's who I think it is. Only because he always wears the hat. Hold on. 12-0.
No, we have another thing that we had to go to, but you're in the podcast, right? Let's do it.
Oh my God, it was. Why, bro? Why do you do this? What is wrong with you? And somebody last time told me in the chat, like, oh yeah, he still streams. My God. I've never wanted to be fucking like I've never wanted to fall into the racist I'm lost for words. I wanted to be wrong. I as soon as I saw the hat, I was like, this is not who I think it is. As soon as I saw the hat, and I mean, mind you, how many black people are actually at the fucking DSA convention? Let's be honest. Oh my God. I'd rather you all roast me for being like thinking, like not being able to distinguish black people apart than this. This is like almost like the second-hand embarrassment is almost worse than the first-hand embarrassment would have been. And that was genuine. I did not see this part. You all saw that I kind of stopped myself because I'm like, oh, I don't want to do the thing where I see a black person and I assume it was, but it wasn't even that he was black. It was the hat. I saw the hat from the back first. And I was like, no fucking way. Oh my gosh. Black Redgar, the Maoist, and the DSA. Man. I had not seen that before. Oh man. This fool follows me too on Twitter. Like, he follows a lot of people back. It's not anything special, but I had to unfollow him because of shit like this. It got so bad. Oh my gosh, bro. All right, the Soulless King. The Soulless King, and I go too fucking hard on these people. We're not making fun of physical appearances, even though I do think. Anywho, I'm not, but let's not make fun of physical appearances. Small ears are cute. Let's be body positive. But as an identifier, yes. I just wonder where they are. It's just I'm just asking questions. I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking. The Soulless King. No, I feel you. Man, I don't even want to play it. It feels like bullying. Why are you like this, bro? But I want to go a little bit further back when 951. I want to see where he comes up to him. Oh man, this is so bad. I was looking for one fool and I found apparently another one.
You know, I got myself elected delegate for my chapter just so I can do this, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Oh my God.
Nice to meet you, man.
Huh?
Nice to meet you.
You as well.
You have a lovely day.
Oh, thank you. What happened? What happened?
That's it, motherfucker. That's it. Did I miss something beforehand? I don't fucking think so. Oh no, because he was already here. Oh, and then he says something about his chat. He says something about my chat really wants me to do this. Bro. I'm trying not to be petty. I'm fighting this. I want to move on from this. Oh my gosh. Chat, if y'all don't jump me if you ever see me do something this ridiculous. If y'all don't jump me if you ever see me do something like this. I felt that I was fanning out too much the first time I talked to Dr. Ball. Like that gag, that's a little embarrassing, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, you know, we're all fans of each other out here, so it is what it is. But bro, to be like, my chat really wants this. Homie, you wanted it. You wanted that. All right. Let's move forward. That's not even what I was looking for. That's so. Oh my god, man. Bro, so many of these fucking people, man. These fucking people, bro. To their credit, at least some of them look like they wash. All right.
I'm having a great time. Oh, there you are. Hi.
How are you? Good to see you.
How are
I'm
you
sorry I
doing?
missed you.
Where's everybody else?
Speed this up.
Oh, okay. You wanna mic up Emma?
Yeah.
What's good? How you been? Have
Here,
you been here since the beginning?
I'm sorry. Okay, now we're being petty. We're at petty. Blame Black Red Guard. We're being petty. I caught this earlier and I wasn't gonna bring this up. We're being petty. Fuck it. It is what it is. It is what it is. Notice her right hand.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
How are you?
Go for a hug. All
How you
good.
doing?
Sorry I missed you.
Where's everybody else?
They're doing an interview.
Oh, okay. You wanna mic up Emma? Yeah.
She says, "Oh yeah, cool, whatever." Notice her right hand when he says, "How have you been? Am I being petty? Yes. Are we blaming Red Guard? Yes." Notice her right hand.
What's good? How are you been?
Here, hold up. She was gonna go for another hug, bro. She was gonna go for another hug. I will slow it down. We're gonna fucking back to the left. Back to the left. We're doing this shit. Fuck it. I try to fight this. I try to be better than this. I am not. I fucking hate these people because they're fucking Zionist enablers. All good. First hug. Not judging that. It is what it is. We're friends. It's cool.
They're doing an interview.
Slowing it down.
Okay. You wanna mic up Emma? Yeah.
Look at this hand when he says, like, "What's good? How have you been?" She's gonna go for a second hug.
What's good? How are you been?
Here. Look at. She was gonna go for a second hug. Mr. President. A second hug has hit the.
What's good? How are you been?
Here, hold. You cannot convince me that she was not gonna go for a second hug. Oh my gosh. That's embarrassing. I mean, it happens to all of us. It really does. But I get to be a little petty because fuck these people. That's right, Dr. Ball. I'm in Dr. Ball's doctoral class for pettiness. That's I get to claim that he's my professor too, y'all. Am I doing too much? Am I lying over here? Am I playing this up too much? Should we slow it down even further? We'll slow it down even further. All right, we'll let her play and then we'll pause.
They're doing an interview.
Do you want her mic her up?
Okay.
Last time.
You wanna mic up Emma? Yeah.
Okay, all right. Here it is. We're slowing it down way 0.5 and then we'll move it on. All right, look.
What's good? How are you been?
Look, it's right there. Why did it extend? Why did it extend? Your Honor! Your Honor! Exhibit A.
Here,
Pulls it back. Maintains eye contact the entire time. Oh my god, it's so fucking sad, bro. It's so fucking pathetic. And I saw that shit immediately. I've seen these things. And I wasn't gonna call it out. Black Red Guard.
Here since,
that one's on you.
Yeah, hold the camera. I saw Rashida's speech.
Yeah. Yeah, we're live streaming.
Oh, hey!
Oh my god, a camera and people? Ah. And it's not a sexist thing. I hate them both equally.
It's the majority report.
What's up? What do I do?
This is a magnet.
Okay.
No, the other side. Other way. Yep.
So there's a part here where she mentions that, yeah, I don't actually attend meetings, DSA meetings, but I do like.
I'm here at the DSA convention. I don't know how to stream.
This is very. You're doing what Sam has done for years with where does he go? He goes to Labor Wars or Netroots or whatever.
Yeah. Netroots.
Or no, Torque Conference. This is Emma at the Torque Conference.
Yes.
This is her Torque Conference.
Look, I'm a dues-paying member of DSA.
There it is. Here it is. 3138. And we'll move on from this. Yeah, Sam goes to these tour conferences because he had every opportunity to be a lawyer, and then he decided to be a fucking failed Hollywood comic. His dad was a lawyer. He had all the financial ability to be a lawyer. He goes, nope, I want to do it. I want to be the centrist Ben Shapiro. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Or no, Torque Conference. This is Emma at the Torque Conference.
Yes.
This is her Torque Conference.
Look, I'm a dues-paying member of DSA. I encourage everybody to sign up to DSA if you haven't already. Although if they're watching your stream, they probably have.
I think we got.
We got photos. Shit.
No, it's fine. No, stay. Okay, I'm saying. I was pointing to that to be like, no, there's a lot of DSA dues signing members here.
I know. But if you're on stream and you haven't done it yet, like I don't do much, like what do you call canvassing or any other work like that. But I do pay my dues. and everybody should because it helps organize.
Hell yeah. How was your burger?
She said, I don't actually organize myself. I'm not going to get out with the plebs. But, you know, I got enough money to throw around. Man, these people are fucking shameless. And immediately, Hasan's like, yeah, I'm not fucking touching that. Organizing? Nope. How's your hamburger? Bro. Wait, what are they in line for? For fucking celebrity worship, bro. Come on. Man. No, because it's a side hug. It's a side hug. The scroll is in my Kool-Aid. It's a side hug. It's the first hug they gave was a full hug, but it kind of came in a side. Look, I'm being petty. I don't really fucking care. It's just a funny, but I do think that she was going for a second hug. But we should, I mean, next stream, 5 hours debate. The scroll in my Kool-Aid. Hop on Discord right now, and we're gonna debate this out. And we're gonna go through it. I can't stand those people, man. All right, let's go.
What happened, knew exactly what Israel was going to do, and thought from a position that is pro-American imperialism, not against, not anti-American imperialism. They thought if we let Israel do this, they are going to fuck up the bag. They're going to ruin America's global standing. They're going to harm Israel's own global standing and make it a pariah state, which it has become. And therefore, it's going to make it harder for America to intervene in the events of the region. And then there were, of course, the other side that won, that said, you, no, it won't. It doesn't matter. We're going to go full tilt into this final solution, this one large military incursion, ethnic cleansing, wholesale slaughter campaign.
All right, we're getting close to like the 30. Yeah, it's about to be 1, and I think the video is dropping at 1:30. And I do have a hard out today. Yeah, it's dropping at 1:30. So let's skip a little bit ahead and talk about Zionism. How about that? Yeah, we'll do it here.
On that front, I guess like because I wanted to see like you're a foreign policy guy.
No, we have time to do this before. Let's do that.
So a couple of questions I had for you in particular. What was the turning point for you, if you don't mind me asking? This is somewhat of an uncomfortable conversation to have, but what was the turning point for you where you were like, okay, this is a genocide? Because like I could tell you, for me, from the jump, I was like, Israel's an apartheid state. October 7 had numerous atrocities that unfolded during October 7. Israel is a Jewish ethno state. Like the project of Zionism relies, in my assessment, of propping up an in-group with the sole purpose of exterminating all of the out-groups, and that in-group being the ethno-religion of Judaism, and the out-group being Palestinians and Arabs and basically non-Jewish people that the Israeli government, not so ironically, it calls Arabs, which includes even like Armenians, for example. Like they are under the demographic categorization of the Israeli state. They are considered and classified as Arabs if they are Christian or Muslim.
Yeah, I mean, before October 7, I would have agreed certainly that Israel was an apartheid state. I don't agree that the goal of that state was the extermination of the Palestinians. I think the goal of a strong and rising faction in Israel, and it's been in control for a long time, has been the complete kind of destruction of the Palestinians as an independent political force, which is an element of genocide.
Yeah.
Not just the physical destruction of a people in whole or in part, but a destruction of their ability to act as a political community. And I think that has only become, much, much more explicit, along with the physical destruction of tens of thousands of people and their homes since October 7. Now, under the question of genocide, it seemed clear pretty early on, just from the statements from Israeli government officials, on top of the absolute brutality of the war, that it seemed likely that it was going in that direction. I think a couple things that really kind of pushed me in that direction. There was a piece in the New York Review of Books by Aryeh Nair, if you know him. He was one of the founders of Human Rights Watch, himself a Holocaust survivor. That piece really basically convinced me, because that piece, what that focused on was the denial of aid, the denial of food, the use of food.
Just real quick, even before that though, just the way that he kind of phrases it about Palestinians as a political like force, already like very dehumanizing, or attempting to make it seem as if no, they actually don't want to take them out as a people. They want to remove any political power from them. It's like, no, they're trying to wipe them out as a people. And if they could do enough extermination to where those that remain, whatever political power they can have and can achieve, will be irrelevant to the whole power structure, then maybe that'll be a soft win for them. It's, again, you got to look at the US. That's the example. They're like, all right, if we wipe out enough of the population, if we put them in open air concentration camps, if we force them to sell off their land and their way of living, if we force them into the cities so that they lose their connection to, indigenous culture, and they no longer identify as indigenous, that's another form of genocide, right? The cultural aspect of it. Then that's why liberal Zionists are like, no, it's a political thing. It's a political thing. Oh yeah, it is apartheid. But once we end apartheid, everything's gonna be better. Fuck out of here.
And humanitarian aid as a weapon, which was clearly happening. Now, there's all kinds of other things you can add on top of that, just the massive destruction, the rules of engagement that don't even deserve to be called rules of engagement because they are so permissive.
Absolutely. Sorry. Makar CT, apartheid was not his red line. Exactly.
You're fine. They're fine with killing dozens of civilians, men, women, and children. If you're possibly going to get one guy who kind of stood near a Hamas rally 5 years ago, I mean, absolutely absurd. But saying it publicly as far as our organization, we made that decision back, I believe it was May, when the Gaza plan was announced, the plan to reoccupy Gaza and to essentially to corral the people into an ever tightening smaller piece of land. I think it just became undeniable at that point that this was the intention. I have total respect and understanding for people who came to that conclusion and said so publicly before that, but just
no, I'm sorry, but isn't that exactly what they've been doing at the West Bank? Forever? What the fuck?
Organizationally, that is when we decided that term was undeniably inappropriate.
Yeah. This is something that a lot of people that I talk to who are Palestinian or Arab or like very familiar with like a lot of what Israel has done in the region can't contend with. Where like I've had these conversations with like they'll be like, why is denial of aid the main thing? Because I think it's because like under, I guess, and this is a Western chauvinist framework for sure, but under like the assessments that Western nation states usually make, they can, no matter how brutal a bombing campaign is, they can try to fit it within the confines of plausible deniability. They can.
Absolutely. He's correct on this. Look, I'm a hater, but he's right. The whole idea, like the humanitarian aid aspect of it is the way that atrocities are normalized. We're like, yeah, we're destroying their whole country, but we're providing them with essential resources. It's like a band-aid over a fucking decapitation.
They can collateralize the civilians that are being deliberately and directly targeted. But denial of aid, denial of entry of any sort of aid to a captive civilian population, I think is just like, there is no justification for it at all, which is precisely the reason why Israel tries to do the stupidest counter-narrative campaigns on this, saying Hamas is stealing the aid or whatever, when they are known to be.
And what's wild too, and I think we unfortunately missed it, but they also give credit to AOC for being one of the first people to call it a genocide. And I'm like, bro, like we've been over it so many times. She refused to acknowledge it as a genocide on MSNBC. Not only that, and again, there's always new viewers, so if you haven't seen this,
some of your colleagues, and we talked about what's happened at the protests this week, have called the president Genocide Joe. Do you agree with that word, genocide, that the president's been supporting a genocide, or does that go too far?
Everybody was already calling him Genocide Joe.
I think what we are seeing right now throughout the country is that young people are appalled at the violence and the indiscriminate loss of life. The fact that this word is even in play, the fact that this word is even in our discourse, I think demonstrates the mass inhumanity that Gazans are facing. And so whether you are an individual that believes this is a genocide, which, by the way, in our polling, we are seeing large amounts of Americans concerned specifically with that word.
That
word,
so I don't
think
that
it is
word,
something
that word.
to completely toss someone out of our public discourse for using.
Some of your
fucking disgusting. She waited until she got the AOK. Man. Let's listen to this though. This was ridiculous. And then we should be wrapping up there for the video drop at 1:30. Appreciate y'all for being here and all the super chats. It really helps. Thank you for that. Believe me, I can't express how much I truly do appreciate it.
On that front, I guess like because I wanted to see like you're a foreign policy guy. This is what you do. I wanted to see like what are some of the disagreements that we might have, and one I think is on the issue of Zionism in general. Because as I said, I see Zionism as an ethno-supremacist ideology that is built around the extermination of the indigenous population that happens to be non-Jewish, like the in-group, out-group dynamic. And so therefore I see it as inherently fascist. And I feel like this is something that a lot of people refuse to reckon with. And I wonder if you have disagreements with this.
I mean, I would disagree with defining all of Zionism that way. I think the actual material reality, like Zionism as it exists in the world, unfortunately, I think reflects that. And people who are Zionists, I think, need to contend with that.
I just find it so difficult to like understand why you wouldn't include, that I miss it, like colonization in the definition of Zionism. Like that's an interesting part of it. That's like a fundamental aspect of it. In order for Jews, European Jews, to establish a nation state, they need a place to do that, and that would require colonization. Again, it should have been Germany post World War II. But okay, Matt Duss is already beginning with like, sketchy ass fucking response.
But I think there are other forms of Zionism. I mean, there was a pretty serious debate going in the late 1800s into the early part of the 20th century.
It might just be me, but he looks like he's getting a little bit redder. But I love when you had to go to the 18th fucking century to be like, it's debatable.
People who classified themselves as identified as Zionists, but there were questions over, do we need our own state? Can we form a community within an existing state? There were all kinds of questions about, okay, how do we relate to the indigenous population? Is it a Jewish ethno state? What does self-determination for Jews really require? And so that's how I would tend to define Zionism broadly. It's just the belief that the Jews are a people, and as a people have a right to self-determination.
First of all, the belief that Jewish people like are a people of their own, distinct, is again Nazi fucking propaganda. There's no such thing as Catholic people, right? Because anybody can be a fucking Catholic. There's all types of fucking Jewish people. What he's referring to is European Jews as a distinct people. That's what he's referring to. Do me a favor, y'all. We got like 100 people watching, only 70 likes. Let's get the likes up to 100. It helps out the channel. And if you're new here, please subscribe. Let's wrap this up.
Now others define, well, a right to self-determination in their historic homeland of Israel in the Middle East, a right to a Jewish ethno-state. You know, people add all kinds of different details on that.
They're just, you know, they're just details. The soul is king. It's just semantics. Now I'm being petty. But you're right. This motherfucker looks like Vosh. Somebody needs to check his fucking hard drive. That is sketchy. But the doublespeak is there, right? The contradictions are very much alive in these people. But how vile do you have to be like, you know, the details about colonization. And that's what I'm saying. You have to mention colonization in the definition of Zionism. Europeans of Jewish faith trying to earn their whiteness by colonizing Palestine. It's a very modern definition, thank you very much. But Muhammad al-Kurd, Imperfect Victims, I mean, does a great job at just cutting it at its root and saying Zionism is what Zionism does. Zionism is what Zionism does. There you go. I might not be quoting him word for word, but he makes that reference. I was like, oh, that's true. Yeah, it's just like fascism. It's an ever developing and fucking growing fucking cancer in the world.
But in understanding it in its broadest terms, I understand it as I said. I mean, I know I've really close friends who identify themselves as progressive Zionists, who would share a lot of.
I don't know why he chuckles there. I don't know why he's like, oh, progressive Zionist. Oh, does that mean they're socialists? Because I use progressive and socialist interchangeably. When that was his excuse of why he was comfortable with Ethan Klein and Hila Klein, why he should go into business with them and starting Leftovers, a political podcast where he refused to address Ethan's Zionism until October 7th made it unavoidable. So why chuckle at that when you yourself normalize liberal Zionists, progressive Zionists? You did it with Sam Cedar. We saw Sam Cedar was like, yeah, Joe Biden should be arming Benjamin Netanyahu, the Zionist entity. Shout out to Access Studios for that. Or Access Audio, my bad. The dyslexia. But we've seen it. Hasan Piker had Sam Cedar on his stream, and Sam Cedar said, some people could consider me a Zionist, but I've never considered myself anti-Zionist. So what the fuck are you chuckling about, bro? These are your people. This is who you fucking roll with.
Our criticisms, and who live there and do this work under considerable pressure and trying to create a society that is equal, in which Jews and Palestinians are equal under the law.
They fucking were. They were. But a little thing called Zionism happened.
Some of them support two states. Some of them support one state. Some of them support one kind of confederal arrangement. But I do think there are people who identify strongly as Zionists, to whom your description of kind of an a violent ethno-eliminationist chauvinism doesn't really apply.
Yeah,
so fucking. There are some good Zionists. Brett Casper, thank you so much for the super chat. Crazy. Thank you so much. Thanks for the stream. Here's a little bit of support from one of those anarchist weirdos. Brett Casper, thank you so much. And respectfully, you might be the richest anarchist weirdo I've ever met. I've ever known of. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. When was this interview, Jabari? This interview was posted at least 2 days ago, but I'm not sure when the live 5 days ago. Yeah, it felt like a week. It did 5 days ago. I think this is pretty accurate. This is a Hasan Abi official channel with 1.7 subscribers. So yes.
I think at the end of the day, if the impact and the ultimate reality that is unfolding is genocide in Gaza and pogroms in the West Bank, with a deliberate attempt to inevitably implement the greater Israeli state project, which Benjamin Netanyahu has even pontificated on as recently as this past week, then the way I see it is just like the old understanding of Zionism. And I always go back to Albert Einstein on that.
The old understanding of Zionism. I want to make it very clear. Any understanding of Zionism at any fucking point was not good. Was always promoting like this weird supremacist fucking ideology from the jump. From the jump.
Nice. Which, you know, he was, I guess, such a Zionist initially that he was slated to be the president of Israel, the first president of Israel. And his attitude on this was that the brigades, the initial, like the early Zionist brigades that turned into the Israeli Defense Force after the development of the nation state, when he saw the atrocities,
the terrorist organizations,
cities that were unfolding, when he caught wind of this, he wrote letters decrying that Irgun, Lihi, and even the Haganah, these militia movements were behaving exactly like the Nazis were. And I feel like someone who has that attitude that early on in the initial formation of the Israeli nation state, which came with the Nakba, an ethnic displacement campaign that was crafted with the deliberate interest of ethnically displacing 750,000 Palestinians from their villages.
Motherfuckers twitching. Bro. Oh, I missed this the first time. This bastard here is twitching. And I mean, look, I always have to be considerate about ableism. My apologies, because I know a lot of Hasan's audience make fun of Ethan Klein's like twitches, like his I don't know what exactly he has. And we always have to combat ableism. So somebody check me and correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Matt has something we don't know, and he's not inclined to tell us. But it looks like as he's hearing this information, he's having a physical repulsion to it.
Ethnically displacing 750,000 Palestinians from their villages implies that, especially when you factor in.
Now, mind you, I've seen this. We're an hour in, and I've seen the entirety of it. I didn't see that in any other moment other than this when presented with this like facts about the the early stages of the Zionist project. I have not seen him twitch the entire time. But no, Ethan does have Tourette's and he does twitch consistently. And I don't care for the fact that Hasan's audience have normalized mocking it and saying that it's drug usage. He has legitimate Tourette's, and even from my limited understanding of it, like the twitches increase like the more stressed out you get. So it's totally understandable why, even though he's a Zionist, we just cannot normalize ableism on the left. It's too comfortable. I'm telling you, it is too comfortable. So please, somebody check me. But to me, it seemed like he's like having an issue, like containing himself, because he's playing a role here. He's playing a part. I don't know, but I'm open to being wrong, and please correct me if I'm being an asshole in the way that I don't want to be.
In Theodore Herzl or even Jabotinsky's assessments or David Ben-Gurion's statements about the indigenous population and what must be done with them, it comes across as though it's been marketing. It's been marketed as something different. And I think that social conditioning has played a major role in this, especially in the West, for American Jews as well as, of course, the evangelical Zionists, the evangelical Christian Zionists. But ultimately, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, then it's probably not a chicken. You know, we might be looking at a duck.
No, I mean, everything you said.
Homie, you've been talking to a fucking duck for like an hour, and he's told you that he's a fucking Zionist in so many fucking words, in so many ways. So what are we doing here? You want to act profound? You want to be like, oh, if it looks like a duck, it talks like a duck. This motherfucker's a Zionist, and then he wants to retroactively pretend, right? Because we're supposed to cover this, but we took too long. My apologies here. Where he's like, I didn't know. I didn't know. And fuck you guys for trying to hold me accountable for platforming a fucking Zionist. He makes himself a fucking victim throughout this entire thing. Refuses to acknowledge or address any direct criticism that is from somebody that has a platform on his left. That's like another 20 minutes. Fuck that shit. I was going to go over it. but just cries about this. But this is what matters, you know?
There is fair. I would also add, someone who might identify as a communist can defy communism in very basic terms, but if they're being honest about their ideology, they do need to contend with the reality of governments that identified as communists, like the Soviets, like the Chinese Communist Party, and some of the things that were carried out in communism.
All right, no, I'm saying like let's not be ableist, but I kid you not, like my dog is like dreaming about running or something because he's going fucking. Yeah, he's going off. All his little fucking las patitas are raging right now. He normally doesn't do that. I don't know, like my husky doesn't really. Oh no, last time scared the fuck out of me. I raced out of my room because he sleeps inside, and this motherfucker, I don't know what he was dreaming about, and starts like wakes up like and I race out of my room. Like I hit. Thankfully, I did not hit my pinky on the edge of a counter or like a mueble, cabinet, whatever they're called in English. But I hit my water bottle. I knocked it over, and that shit fell on like the left side of my foot, the pinky side of my foot. That shit got swollen like immediately. Anywho, sorry. On a side note, let's go back a little bit. All right.
The reality of governments that identified as communists. Like
dogs can sense evil. Yeah. But here we have this motherfucker pushing the whole, well, communists have done a lot of bad things, but we don't judge all communists based on that, do we? So why should we judge all Zionists based on what Zionist leaders have done? Sick ass food.
Soviets, like the Chinese Communist Party, and some of the things that were carried out in communism's name. That doesn't mean that defines communism for all time. But if they're going to be honest about what their ideology means, they do have to grapple with actually existing communism. You can find other examples too.
So again, I agree with you. I think that it's very
so. He's saying this to deflect and to defend Zionism, meaning he is a fucking Zionist. And I wouldn't have an issue with this. I wouldn't have an issue with the type of pushback that Hasan is giving. In fact, I've normalized this. I'm like, wow, this is actually a fucking surprise. He's having a liberal Zionist on and actually pushing back somewhat, even soft-handed. That's a fucking change from Sam Cedar. That's a fucking change to fucking Ethan Klein prior to October 7th. That's different. Listen to his pushback.
Important to learn from the past mistakes of attempts towards developing communism, like the transitional socialist states, whether it be like USSR or existing transitional socialist states like the current formation in China. There are always going to be issues. There's always going to be mistakes, and some of them are going to be incredibly costly. Widespread famine is obviously a great example of this in terms of some of the major issues that existed. And I think people need to contend with that, certainly. But I just think ideologically, when we go back to like first principles, like the fundamentals of an ideology, not only just like the opinions of its initial movement leaders, but also in its implementation, I guess what I'm trying to say is not an accident that we have arrived at the current genocide that's going on, which many people are now recognizing as a genocide. It was an inevitability. And I would go so far as to say that we're experiencing something of the sort in America.
So I think it's literally a requirement for settler colonialism. That's what I'm saying. How can you define Zionism without talking about colonization? And now these rat bastards here, and we'll move on from this. These rat bastards. So he says that it was unavoidable. Unavoidable. And these guys over here,
okay,
want to like act up and pretend that that they support Palestinian decolonization because Hasan Piker, this is too fucking meta for me. Let's get out of there. Because everybody was giving Hasan Piker a lot of fucking hot shit for this. Watch. Let me find it real quick. Oh, I know it's gonna be on my likes. Because J-Stock covered this. Fucking another weirdo. Yeah, let's just do this. We'll cover that in a second. Okay, this is the other portion that we're supposed to cover. 5 minutes, y'all. 5 minutes.
Like any kind of violence that is
but it shows the thinking.
Like any kind of violence that Israeli settlers or the Israeli military experiences in the West Bank is literally legal, okay? It is legal resistance against an occupying military force. I cannot repeat this enough. Just like any kind of violence that the Israeli occupying force experiences in the Gaza Strip is actually, once again, totally legal and totally moral resistance.
Again, this is such a fucking liberal Zionist take because he's saying in Gaza, in the West Bank, and occupied this and occupied that, in all of Palestine. Every inch that is being occupied by the Zionist entity, it's legitimate.
By the Palestinians. Doesn't matter if they're the Al-Aqsa Brigade, doesn't matter if they're a part of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, doesn't matter if they're DFLP, PFLP, or even former Fatah militants, okay? It is perfectly legal, perfectly valid, and perfectly moral. Okay? 100%. This is not like a black and...
Mind you, this is after Bad Empanada, Z-Squirrel, all like critical leftists that are critical fucking liberal Zionists came after him for that conversation with Matt Duss.
This is not a gray area. This is black and white. Okay, it doesn't get more black and white than this. Israel's in the wrong. Israel is actually engaging in an apartheid, which is a crime in and of itself. Israel's doing a genocide in Gaza and an apartheid in the West Bank, 2 crimes in and of itself. And every type of armed resistance against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in these raids, the violence that the Palestinians engage in an act of resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal.
Now he's correct, but why bring up Hila Klein, not even by name because he's so much a fucking coward, says their favorite podcaster's wife, meaning his former business partner, Ethan Klein. But this motherfucker was breaking bread with Ethan Klein and Hila Klein. When he knew that she was a fucking IOF veteran, he knew that Hila Klein was an IOF veteran, and he still went into business with him. But now he wants to pretend that, oh, Zionists can't even be dog catchers in his society. Full of fucking shit. And then the fucking ContraPoints situation here, she deleted her Twitter because she said, "Love your hair, hope you win, but I will never go to a Marxist church," which is fucking hilarious because white people, white leftists, but the online left, BreadTube, always shouts from the rooftops that they don't go outside, that they don't organize. I know this is a quick term, but I'm wrapping up here. If you organize, you know that you're going to be in an empty fucking gym or you're going to be at an empty church. It's literally one or the other, if not outside. Like, what are you doing if you're not fucking crashing somebody's pad? What is going on? That's how you know these fucking people do not go outside. And she deleted her shit for this, but guess what? Her Patreon is still going to be good. It won't be no issue there. All right, y'all. Thank you for sticking around. Hit the like button if you can. Subscribe if you will. This is about to drop. This is about to drop here. Let me go ahead and share this in the chat. And then I will be with y'all in the premiere. I will be with you in the premiere. Go ahead. If everybody could start making their way over here, that'd be awesome. Thank you for sticking around. We got a little bit petty, not going to lie. We're going to blame Black Red Guard. It is what it is. This is happening. Head on over. Appreciate all the support. Thank you. Y ya estuvo.